Chapter 242. Third Senior Sister, you underestimate De Zhuang. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. What? From what you're saying, De Zhuang has just broken through and is already stronger than me? Little junior brother, De Zhuang is not you. Mingxi clearly did not believe him. De Zhuang, spar with third senior sister. Zhou Donghuang smiled as he looked at De Zhuang. De Zhuang hurriedly shook his head. No. I can't. I can't fight with senior sister. De Zhuang is just a spar. Zhou Donghuang's calmness made Mingxi a little uneasy. She looked at De Zhuang and said, since little junior brother is so confident in you, I want to see how strong you are now. If you can really defeat senior sister will be happy for you. Mingxi looked at De Zhuang, her gaze full of motherly love. Mingxi's words made De Zhuang's eyes light up. He smiled and shook his head. Senior sister, I am definitely not your match. Whoosh. Mingxi rose into the air and stood in the air looking down at De Zhuang. De Zhuang, come. Go. Seeing De Zhuang look over, Zhou Donghuang smiled. Don't hold back or third senior sister will not be happy. Yes. De Zhuang, if you dare to hold back when sparring with me, I will be very unhappy. Mingxi agreed. She also wanted to see where Zhou Donghuang's confidence in De Zhuang came from. Jin didn't say a word from beginning to end. He just quietly watched as De Zhuang rose into the air and faced his daughter Mingxi. From what he saw, De Zhuang, who had just broken through to the Dharma stage, was definitely not a match for his daughter. However, Zhou Donghuang's confidence made him waver. Although he had not interacted with Zhou Donghuang before, this young fellow had given him too many surprises. First, he had tricked the people of the Summer Valley with a fake, and then he had defeated Lian Can, the proud disciple of the Summer Valley head, just a few days after breaking through to the Dharma stage. Now, he also knew that Zhou Donghuang could produce an ancient core medicine known as the Developing Essence, which had helped De Zhuang enter the Dharma stage in a short month. Defeating Lian Can when he had just entered the Dharma stage and helping De Zhuang enter the Dharma stage were two of the most shocking things he had ever done. De Zhuang has switched to cultivating the Fiery Thunder training regimen. If I'm not mistaken, he will condense the Fiery Thunder Dharma form. Just as Zhou Donghuang's heart skipped a beat, he saw De Zhuang rise into the air to face him. Mingxi, who had been waiting for a chance, began to gather her inner yuan. In the blink of an eye, a 3-meter-tall Dharma idol extended from her body. The Dharma idol was a 3-meter-long giant sword. After it condensed, it emitted bursts of fierce and sharp aura. The true origin sword aura on it flickered like a python hissing, accumulating power and waiting to be unleashed. De Zhuang, give it your all. Let me see how strong you are now that you've reached the Dharma stage. In the blink of an eye, Mingxi's giant sword Dharma appeared beneath her feet. It carried her through the air, circling around De Zhuang. Yes, senior sister. At the same time, De Zhuang's Dharma power appeared at the same time. It was a ball of scorching flames. Within the flames there were white bolts of lightning. From time to time, there would be a soft sound of thunder. It was especially ear-piercing compared to the sound of the burning flames. What kind of Dharma is this? Mingxi was stunned. Based on her understanding of De Zhuang's techniques, after he entered the Dharma stage, he should be able to condense a blade Dharma. However, the Dharma idol that De Zhuang was displaying now surprised her greatly. At this moment, not only Mingxi but even Jin, the Autumn Valley head, was stunned. He knew the techniques that De Zhuang practiced. Unless he switched to another technique, he would definitely be able to condense a blade Dharma. De Zhuang, could it be that he switched to another technique? Jin subconsciously looked at the young man in white who was standing not far away. He saw that the young man's face was calm, and he did not seem surprised by De Zhuang's Dharma. It was as if he had already known that De Zhuang's Dharma would be the Fiery Thunder Dharma. De Zhuang, I'm going to attack. Although she was surprised by the Dharma idol that De Zhuang had condensed, Mingxi did not think too much about it. She called out to De Zhuang, then activated the giant sword Dharma beneath her feet and flew towards De Zhuang, attacking him with the sword. Whoosh! The giant sword Dharma sliced through the air, and an ear-piercing sound rang out. The air currents in the air were completely split apart by the giant sword Dharma. Waves of bone-chilling wind howled out from both sides of the giant sword Dharma, sweeping towards Zhou Donghuang and Jin, who were watching the battle from below. The wind caused their robes to flutter loudly. Faced with the giant sword Dharma, De Zhuang's eyes flashed with a look of panic. After all, this was his first time fighting against a Dharma adept. Furthermore, this was a Dharma adept who had condensed a giant sword Dharma, a Dharma adept that specialized in killing. Once he attacked, the wind howled, and the sword seemed to be able to destroy everything. Dezhuang, don't forget that you are also a Dharma adept now. Zhou Donghuang saw the panic in Dezhuang's eyes and he reminded him. He could understand what Dezhuang was feeling now. Years ago, when he had just entered the Dharma stage the first time he had fought against another Dharma adept, he had been like this. Just as he heard Zhou Donghuang's reminder, Dezhuang's face hardened. His body was like a python surrounded by lightning, and in an instant it exploded. Immediately his entire body brought with it the thunder and fire Dharma, and it met He Mingxi's lightning-fast sword that sliced through the air. Just as Dezhuang sprinted forward, his eyes stared directly at the sword that was flying towards him. He instinctively wanted to avoid it, but his intuition told him that he could easily block this sword. All the muscles in his body tensed up and he was ready to attack. This feeling also made him feel like he was being controlled by a ghost. For some reason, he struck out with both his palms to meet the giant sword Dharma that was coming at him. At first, seeing this, He Mingxi's expression changed slightly, and she withdrew her strength. However, she realized that Dezhuang's hands were wide open, and his hands were surrounded by lightning and fire. His hands were able to clamp down on her giant sword Dharma power. Her giant sword Dharma power could not advance any further. Moreover, she tried to exert more force, but the giant sword Dharma power did not budge. It was only when she used all her strength that she realized that the giant sword Dharma was trembling slightly. Even so, Dezhuang was still able to completely bind the giant sword Dharma. No matter how hard she struggled, the giant sword Dharma could not escape from Dezhuang's hands. How is this possible? This made He Mingxi feel extremely incredulous. Dezhuang had just broken through to the Dharma stage, so how could he so easily block her sword Dharma? Furthermore, now that Dezhuang's hands were like iron pincers, her sword Dharma could not move at all. Senior sister, continue to use more strength. Dezhuang looked at He Mingxi in confusion, thinking that she was going easy on him. He smiled and said, Senior sister, you don't have to hold back. Dezhuang can take it. Use more strength? If she did not know that Dezhuang would not say such things on purpose, He Mingxi would have suspected that he was purposely teasing her. Dezhuang, I've already used all my strength. He Mingxi smiled bitterly. Huh. Dezhuang was stunned and his jaw dropped. Senior sister, you've already used all your strength? In terms of brute force, I'm not as good as you. Now let go, He Mingxi said gently. I'll try to attack you. Slow reactions are also your weakness. This is a good opportunity for me to test your reaction speed now that you've entered the Dharma stage. All right. Dezhuang nodded like a woodpecker and immediately let go of He Mingxi's giant sword Dharma, allowing it to move again. Although He Mingxi could also give up on the giant sword Dharma, if she did that, the inner yuan in her dantian would be greatly depleted. The next time she formed her Dharma, her strength would be far weaker than it was now, and she would not be a match for Dezhuang. Dezhuang's reaction speed was always slow, and this was also a weakness of his. In the past, after he had entered the Lightning Sword sect and entered the Autumn Valley, he had sparred with many disciples of the same level of training as him, and he had lost every single time. He was strong, but his reaction speed could not keep up with others' attacks. In the end, he could only become a target for others. Now He Mingxi saw that Dezhuang, who had just entered the Dharma stage, already had such strength. She wanted to test his reaction speed to see if it was still the same as before, or if it was still his weakness. Whoosh. When He Mingxi's sword flew towards Dezhuang's back, his brain could not react at all. However, the muscles on his back instantly tightened, and the thunder and fire Dharma on his body roared backwards. It was like a thunder and fire beast opening its bloody mouth to meet He Mingxi's sword. However, because the thunder and fire Dharma was defending on its own, its power was not as strong as when Dezhuang had used it to attack. Even so, it was still able to block He Mingxi's sword. It was as if her sword had stabbed into a ball of cotton, and it was difficult to move forward or out. At this time, Dezhuang slowly turned around. Seeing the giant sword in front of him, he instinctively slapped out, and the thunder and fire palm flew out, destroying nearly half of the giant sword Dharma. He Mingxi also suffered from the impact of the inner yuan, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Senior sister. Seeing that he had injured He Mingxi, Dezhuang's expression changed, and his face was full of panic. Senior sister, I didn't do it on purpose, I didn't do it on purpose. However, although He Mingxi was injured, it was only a minor injury. She ignored Dezhuang's panic, and in a flash the inner yuan in her energy center surged out, once again restoring her giant sword Dharma to its peak state. At the same time, she stepped on the giant sword Dharma and flew around Dezhuang. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In an instant, He Mingxi had attacked De Zhuang from hundreds of different angles with her sword. De Zhuang's reflexes were slow to begin with, so how could he react? However, at this moment, De Zhuang's thunder and fire dharma gathered together, and then condensed on the surface of his body. It was as if it had transformed into a flaming armor that was surrounded by thunder and lightning. No matter how much the sword slashed down, there was only a slight ripple on the surface. Throughout the entire process, De Zhuang was unharmed. End of this chapter. Chapter 243. What a perfect dharma. While He Mingxi could not do anything to De Zhuang, the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, looked at the lightning flames that covered De Zhuang's body, and his eyes lit up. Even among ultimate dharma adepts, he had never seen such a perfect dharma power. What technique did De Zhuang switch to? He Jin knew very well that, based on De Zhuang's foundation, to form such a perfect dharma, the technique he switched to would have to be a very advanced one. This was because the more profound a cultivation method was, the smaller the flaws and the more perfect the dharma idol would be. This was the iron law of the boundless universe's cultivation world. Previously he had guessed that De Zhuang had switched to another technique. Now, seeing how perfect De Zhuang's dharma was, he confirmed his guess. De Zhuang's technique was more advanced than any of the lightning sword sect's techniques. The lightning sword sect's techniques, even the lightning sword technique, could not produce such a perfect dharma. In fact, in the history of the lightning sword sect, there might not even have been a single practitioner of the lightning sword technique who had managed to train his dharma power to the point where it was as perfect as De Zhuang's dharma power when he was at the ultimate dharma stage. Even if there were, such people were few and far between. At least He Jin had never seen one. De Zhuang, what kind of dharma is this? He Mingxi was shocked to see that she had attacked consecutively, intending to overwhelm De Zhuang. However, De Zhuang's dharma form was still able to easily block her attacks. She was not surprised that a dharma would protect its owner. What surprised her was that under normal circumstances, the power of a dharma protecting its owner was not as strong as a dharma adept's dharma. However, De Zhuang's dharma, even though he was not the one controlling it, was still able to easily block all of her attacks. This made her both depressed and aggrieved. She had attacked him so hard, but by the time he reacted, his dharma had blocked all of my attacks? Senior sister, I don't know either. De Zhuang shook his head. You don't know either? He Mingxi stared at him in disbelief. That's your dharma, how can you not know? De Zhuang seemed to have something he could not say, and as he hesitated, he looked pleadingly at Zhou Donghuang. At this moment, both He Mingxi and He Jin looked at Zhou Donghuang. I've imparted a new technique to De Zhuang. To him, third senior sister He Mingxi was not an outsider, and as her father He Jin was not an outsider either. As expected. He Jin's heart skipped a beat. Although he had previously felt that his guess was definitely correct, with Zhou Donghuang's confirmation, it gave him a completely different feeling. A new cultivation method? He Mingxi's eyes lit up, and she subconsciously looked at Zhou Donghuang with a look of desire in her eyes. However, she seemed to realize that she was being rude and looked away awkwardly. De Zhuang chuckled. Senior sister, junior brother said that he has a more suitable technique for you. De Zhuang's words caused He Mingxi's darkened eyes to light up again. Third senior sister, I wrote down this technique for you and the Valley Chief. It can be practiced all the way to the ultimate divine transformation stage, however, it's best not to let anyone else know about this technique. Otherwise you will be in deep trouble. As Zhou Donghuang spoke, his expression turned serious. He would naturally not be stingy with his third senior sister He Mingxi and her father He Jin. However, he had to warn them. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang took out a piece of paper from his space ring and handed it to He Mingxi. This technique is called the Thousand-Star Sword Technique, and it is a very advanced swordsmanship technique. Once you completely switch to this technique, De Zhuang will not be your match in a short period of time. This is because his reaction time is his weakness. However, in the future, as De Zhuang's cultivation base increases, the technique he cultivates will subtly strengthen his weaknesses until they completely disappear. When that time comes, even if you're at the same cultivation base, you'll at most be able to fight him to a draw. Of course, if you fight him to the death, you will have a higher chance of winning. These two cultivation techniques are of the same level. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique focuses on killing, while the Fiery Thunder Training Regimen that De Zhuang cultivates is an offensive and defensive technique. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique that I am giving you now is not complete. When you reach the ultimate divine transformation stage, I will give you the rest of the technique. Zhou Donghuang said. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique? It's of the same level as De Zhuang's technique? After hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, both He Mingxi and He Jin's breathing quickened in that instant. Remember what I said, Zhou Donghuang reminded them. Whether it is the Thousand-Star Sword technique that was given to you or the Fiery Thunder training regimen that was given to De Zhuang, they are both very advanced techniques. Once they are exposed, there will be no place for you in the Honglio galaxy. Understood. He Mingxi nodded seriously. Although she had not known Zhou Donghuang for long, she had never seen him so serious before. It was not difficult for her to understand the gravity of the situation. As for He Jin, the Autumn Valley head, he had already scanned the surroundings to see if anyone was hiding nearby and eavesdropping. After confirming that there was no one, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Little brother. Just then, He Mingxi seemed to suddenly remember something and looked at Zhou Donghuang. Why don't we tell my father about this? Now, I don't think he will suspect that what you said is false. The Thousand-Star Sword technique was definitely a technique that far surpassed any other in the Honglio galaxy. Now, Zhou Donghuang had even passed this technique on to her father. Even if she told her father about what Zhou Donghuang had told her before, her father would definitely believe her. Zhou Donghuang nodded and said with a serious expression, but we cannot let anyone else know. Of course. He Mingxi also nodded seriously. This matter concerned her father's life and death, so she naturally could not do anything rash. What is it? At this time He Jin looked at Zhou Donghuang and his daughter with a puzzled expression, his eyes filled with confusion. Valley Master, you should go back with third senior sister and listen to her in detail. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Zhou Donghuang trusted He Mingxi unconditionally because he knew what kind of person He Mingxi was from his previous life. Even if he didn't have that so-called dream of the future, she would definitely not betray him if he gave her the Thousand-Star Sword technique and gave her a fortuitous encounter. After all, she was the kind of person who was obsessed with the principle of, a drop of kindness should be repaid with a spring of gratitude. As for He Mingxi's father, He Jin, although he had not interacted with him in his previous life, He Mingxi had mentioned him more than once. He Mingxi's personality was basically like her father's. Furthermore, according to He Mingxi in his previous life, not only had De Zhuang died for her, but her father, He Jin, had also given up a chance at survival for her. He had not hesitated to sacrifice his own life for his only daughter. Having lived for 1,000 years in his previous life, Zhou Donghuang was not stupid. Naturally, he would not easily put himself in danger. He Mingxi and He Jin were both trustworthy people. De Zhuang. At the same time, Zhou Donghuang looked at De Zhuang and reminded him, from today onwards, don't easily show off your abilities in front of others. If you want to show off your abilities in front of others, you have to wait until you reach the ultimate Dharma stage. Before that, keep a low profile. What? De Zhuang was puzzled. At the same time, his eyes were filled with confusion and disappointment. He had just been thinking that he would often find people to spar with in the future and let them know that he, De Zhuang, could easily defeat those of the same level of practice as him, and that he was not the trash that they said he was. If you don't want third sister and me to die, you better do as I say. Zhou Donghuang could not be bothered to explain to De Zhuang. Although he could explain with De Zhuang's slow brain, it would definitely take him a long time to explain. In his heart, he knew very well. Today, De Zhuang had just broken through to the Dharma stage, and he had already displayed such abilities with his fire and thunder Dharma power. His third sister He Mingxi was still alright, but the Autumn Valley head He Jin must have long guessed that De Zhuang had switched to training in an extremely powerful technique. Otherwise, De Zhuang would not have been able to have such an incredible transformation. After all, He Jin was very clear about De Zhuang's past, and so were many people in the Lightning Sword sect. But Zhou Donghuang was different. Although he had just broken through to the Dharma stage and displayed abilities that could easily defeat the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Ken, no one would have thought that he had trained in a powerful technique. Many people would have thought that he had been stuck at the ultimate primal core stage for a long time, and that when his Dharma power was still in its embryonic stage, he had already begun to train it. After all, no one knew about his past. 10 years of sharpening a sword. I understand now. Although De Zhuang had a strong desire to show off now, when he heard that this concerned the life and death of two people who were more important to him than his own life, he immediately suppressed his desire to show off and spoke seriously. At the same time, He Jin, who had returned to his residence, was also stunned after hearing He Mingxi's words. No wonder Zhou Donghuang had called his daughter third sister. He was wondering why his daughter had suddenly decided to go on a long trip. He did not expect that she would always give him a heads up before she went on a long trip. So, he had dreamed of things that would happen a long time in the future, and that included my death. He Jin's expression was very serious. Now he had already seen the thousand-star sword technique that Zhou Donghuang had passed on to him. The wonders of the sword technique far surpassed the lightning sword technique of the lightning sword sect, which he had switched to after entering the ultimate Dharma stage. If they were to compare, the difference would be like heaven and earth. After I completely switch to the thousand-star sword technique, I will definitely become the most powerful person in the Honglio galaxy below the divine transformation stage. He Jin's eyes shone with confidence. One had to know that the current him, not only in the Honglio galaxy but even on the Tai Lao planet and in the lightning sword sect, there were also ultimate primordial soul adepts who were stronger than him. End of this chapter. Chapter 244. In the lightning sword sect, the sect leader was a divine transformation adept. Below him were the guardians and elders of the lightning peak. There were only 3 guardians of the lightning peak, and they were all ultimate primordial soul adepts. Although there were many elders in the lightning peak, only 4 of them had entered the ultimate primordial soul stage, and they were the 4 valley heads of the 4 valleys of the inner sect. The 4 valley heads of the 4 valleys of the inner sect were also the 4 chief elders of the lightning peak, and their abilities were comparable to the 3 guardians of the lightning peak. However, among the 7 ultimate primordial soul adepts of the lightning sword sect, although He Jin was not the weakest, he was not the strongest either. He could only be ranked in the middle. Zhou Donghuang had already heard all of this from He Mingxi. Because of this, he could conclude that, once He Jin had completely converted to the thousand-star sword technique, his abilities would definitely be at the top of the 7 ultimate primordial soul adepts of the lightning sword sect. In fact, in the entire Tai Lao planet or even the entire Honglio galaxy, no one below the divine transformation stage would be his match. From the ultimate primordial core stage to the early Dharma stage with the help of the elixir, it is equivalent to taking a shortcut. However, in the future training, unless I can obtain some extremely rare herbs or spirit fruits, there will be no more shortcuts. Because of this, a few days later, Zhou Donghuang went to look for He Mingxi and asked her to tell He Jin to keep an eye out for rare herbs and spirit fruits. If there was a way to obtain them, no matter the cost, he had to obtain them. Let the Valley Head help me with the spirit stones first. In the future, I will help the Valley Head earn more spirit stones. I have many elixir formulas that are ahead of the mainstream elixirs of the Honglio galaxy. Zhou Donghuang said to He Mingxi, "Little brother, I will ask my father to keep an eye out for the things that you want." He Mingxi looked at Zhou Donghuang gently. "As for the spirit stones, you do not have to worry, and you do not need to help my father earn them back. Although I don't really understand the value of the technique that you gave to me and my father told me. Even if all the wealth of the lightning sword sect were to be added together, it would not be worth as much as that technique." As she spoke, she could not help but reveal a look of surprise on her face. She looked around carefully and after confirming that there was no one around, she asked, "Little brother, that technique, what level is it?" In the boundless universe, cultivation techniques were also divided into grades and levels. The best cultivation techniques in the universe could be cultivated all the way to the deity tribulation realm, such as the thousand-star sword technique and the fiery thunder body tempering technique. The art of everlasting youth could only be cultivated to the celestial being realm. Of course, those who cultivated the technique of everlasting youth had a strong foundation, and their lifespan was longer than ordinary people of the same cultivation level. As long as one could cultivate to the ultimate celestial being realm, as long as they wanted to, it would not be difficult for them to step into the deity tribulation realm. A deity tribulation level cultivation technique. A few days ago when he had imparted the technique to He Mingxi and He Jin, Zhou Donghuang had not mentioned it. Now that He Mingxi had asked, Zhou Donghuang had casually told her about it. And when He Mingxi heard his words, she was unsurprisingly stunned. Deity tribulation level cultivation technique? In the boundless universe, the level of the cultivation technique corresponded to the stage of cultivation. For example, the lightning sword technique of the lightning sword sect was a divine transformation level technique, and it was only a low-level divine transformation technique. At most, it could only be cultivated to the early divine transformation stage. If one wanted to break through, they would have to figure it out on their own, but it would be very difficult to do so. If one could obtain a mid-level divine transformation technique or above, it would be much easier for one to enter the mid-divine transformation stage after changing their training. In the Honglio galaxy, the highest level of cultivation technique was only a mid-level divine transformation technique, and it was in the hands of the two transcendental forces that were superior to many other top sects, including the Lightning Sword sect. The best cultivation technique in the Hunglio galaxy was only a mid-level divine transformation technique. Now, her little junior brother was telling her that the Thousand-Star Sword technique was a deity tribulation level technique? However, the portion of the Thousand-Star Sword technique that I've written down for you can only be cultivated to the ultimate divine transformation stage at most. I'll teach you the rest of the technique after you've entered the ultimate divine transformation stage. I've already told third senior sister and the valley head about this yesterday. Indeed. Yesterday, Zhou Donghuang had said that he would teach He Mingxi and He Jin the rest of the technique after they had entered the ultimate divine transformation stage. But even so, He Jin only dared to make a bold guess that the Thousand-Star Sword technique was a divine splitting stage technique. To He Jin, a divine splitting stage technique was already a priceless treasure. And now Zhou Donghuang was telling He Mingxi that the Thousand-Star Sword technique was a deity tribulation level technique. Naturally, He Mingxi was completely shocked. After a while, He Mingxi finally regained her composure, but she still felt like she was in a dream. Little junior brother, thank you. In her shock, He Mingxi did not know what else to say. She could only thank Zhou Donghuang in a trembling voice. Third senior sister, after experiencing that future dream, I've come to see you as my senior sister. That's why I've come to the Lightning Sword sect to look for you. Zhou Donghuang looked at He Mingxi seriously. You're my third senior sister and I'm your little junior brother, there's no need for thanks between us. I understand, little junior brother. He Mingxi nodded and smiled. She looked at Zhou Donghuang and her gaze softened. Third senior sister, if the valley head can obtain the ingredients and spirit fruits I mentioned, I can use them to refine many core drugs. At that time, not only me but you and De Zhuang's level of practice will also increase by leaps and bounds. Zhou Donghuang further explained the importance of the things he wanted. Don't worry, I'll get my father to keep an eye out. He Mingxi nodded solemnly. As Zhou Donghuang agreed, he said goodbye to He Mingxi and returned to his own residence. In the following period of time, Zhou Donghuang quietly stayed in the Autumn Valley to practice and did not go out. The Lightning Sword sect disciples, who were shocked by the fact that he had just broken through to the Dharma stage and had defeated the Summer Valley disciple Lien Qin, gradually forgot about him. Of course, there were some people who could not forget Zhou Donghuang, such as Lien Qin himself. There were also the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley who had personally witnessed Zhou Donghuang defeat Lien Qin. Time flew. Unknowingly, Zhou Donghuang had already been in the Lightning Sword sect for half a year. At this time, his level of practice had also successfully entered the mid-Dharma stage. Naturally, this was due to He Jin's great help. He Jin had helped Zhou Donghuang find the various herbs and spirit fruits that Zhou Donghuang needed at all costs. For this, he had spent a large number of spirit stones. However, he did not feel any heartache at all. Now, He Jin had already found out from his daughter, He Mingxi, that the technique known as the Thousand-Star Sword technique was not a cloning technique, but a deity's tribulation technique. When he had first found out, he had been shocked for a long time before he recovered. In this period of time, He Jin had also successfully switched to practicing the Thousand-Star Sword technique. Although he had not exchanged blows with other ultimate primordial soul adepts, he knew that his current abilities were completely different from what they had been in the past. In fact, he was confident that he could defeat his past self with one blow. Father, I've broken through. After He Mingxi came out of seclusion, the first thing she did was to find He Jin. Her face was full of excitement. The core medicine that little brother has refined is amazing. You've broken through? He Jin's eyes lit up as well and he laughed heartily. Donghuang, you really are a benefactor to us. You've broken through to the mid-Dharma stage and I, after switching to the Thousand-Star Sword technique, have also touched the threshold of the divine transformation stage. He Jin smiled brightly. Congratulations, father. He Mingxi hurriedly congratulated He Jin. Girl. Suddenly, as if he had thought of something, He Jin's smile disappeared, and his expression turned serious. Although you've completely switched to the Thousand-Star Sword technique and entered the mid-Dharma stage, before you enter the Dharma stage, you and De Zhuang need to keep a low profile. In the past, no one in the Lightning Sword sect knew about Donghuang's background. No matter how strong his Dharma power was, no one would think that he had trained in a powerful technique. Most people would just think that when he was at the ultimate primordial core stage, he had already trained his Dharma power without restraint. Furthermore, in the past few months, I've intentionally spread similar news. Now, everyone in the Lightning Sword sect agrees that the reason why Donghuang's Dharma power is so strong is because when he was at the ultimate primal core stage, he had perfected the embryonic form of his Dharma power. But you and De Zhuang are different. Everyone in the Lightning Sword sect knows about your background. Before you enter the ultimate Dharma stage, you must not reveal your perfect Dharma power. As the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect and one of the 4 chief elders of the Lightning Peak, He Jin was very meticulous. Father, I know. He Mingshi nodded solemnly. Just as He Mingshi nodded, a loud and clear voice rang out from outside. Valley Master He, the sect master has ordered me to invite you to the Lightning Peak to receive a group of people from the Thunder Knife sect led by the Thunder Knife sect master. The people from the Thunder Knife sect are here? He Jin raised an eyebrow, and his lips curled into a cold smile. Some time ago, I heard that the Thunder Knife sect had accepted a rare martial talent from the Tailao planet. At that time, I was thinking that the Thunder Knife sect would not give up on the chance to bring this martial talent to the Lightning Sword sect to show off. And now he's finally here? 24 years old and at the mid-Dharma stage, his martial talent is indeed incredible. But now, in our Lightning Sword sect, there is also a 24 years old mid-Dharma adept. Naturally, He Jin was referring to Zhou Donghuang. In the past few hundred years, other than Zhou Donghuang, the first adept to enter the mid-Dharma stage in the Lightning Sword sect was already 25 years old. Girl, it's rare for you to come out of seclusion. Come with me to the Lightning Peak to join in the fun. He Jin called out to He Mingshi, and then the father-daughter pair left the Autumn Valley and headed in the direction of the Lightning Peak. End of this chapter. Chapter 245. The Thunder Knife sect originated from the Lightning Sword sect. 6,000 years ago, there had been internal strife in the Lightning Sword sect. At that time, one of the guardians of the Lightning Sword sect had broken through to the divine transformation stage and left the Lightning Sword sect with a group of elders and disciples. They set up their own sect and became the founder of the Thunder Knife sect. The Thunder Knife sect's signature technique, the Thunder Knife technique, was actually the Lightning Sword sect's Thunder Sword technique, except that the weapon used was different. In the past, the Lightning Sword sect's guardians, elders, and disciples who had left the Lightning Sword sect all started to use knives instead of swords in order to differentiate themselves from the Lightning Sword sect. From then on, the Tailao planet had gained a strong sect, the Thunder Knife sect. Perhaps it was the Thunder Knife sect's luck that the founder and the others of the Thunder Knife sect had actually managed to uncover the mysteries of a dangerous place on the Tailao planet after leaving the Lightning Sword sect and discovered a superior spirit stone mine. A high-quality spirit stone mine was the foundation of the top forces in the Hengliu galaxy. After obtaining that high-quality spirit stone mine, the Thunder Knife sect developed for a few thousand years and became a powerful sect that could compete with the Lightning Sword sect in all aspects. The Thunder Knife sect was one of the top sects in the Hengliu galaxy. Because they originated from the Lightning Sword sect, the Thunder Knife sect had always wanted to get rid of the shadow of the Lightning Sword sect and liked to compare themselves with the Lightning Sword sect in everything. This time, the Thunder Knife sect had recruited a rare martial prodigy from the Tailao planet, and they could not wait to bring him to the Lightning Sword sect to show off. At the head of the group was the leader of the Thunder Knife sect, Luo Yuanqiu. Leader Luo, what a rare guest. The Thunder Knife sect had come to visit, and as the host, the leader of the Lightning Sword sect personally led the 4 chief elders of the Lightning Peak to welcome them. The Lightning Sword sect leader's name was Yu Yuqing. He looked like he was in his 50s, but in actual fact he was more than 1,000 years old. He wore a plain robe and had a head of grayish-white hair that flowed down his back. His grayish-white eyebrows were straight, and he exuded an aura of authority. Ah, Leader Yu, speaking of which, we haven't seen each other in 100 years, right? The Thunder Saber sect leader Luo Yuanqiu looked about the same age as Yu Yuqing, be it in terms of appearance or actual age. However, compared to Yu Yuqing's jade-like figure, he seemed ordinary, like a fat merchant in the marketplace. He was covered in jewelry, had a fat head and big ears, and seemed to have a bright smile on his face at all times. Almost 200 years. Yu Yuqing nodded. Sect Leader Luo. Sect Leader Luo. At this moment, the 4 chief elders of the Rapid Thunder Peak behind Yu Yuqing, who were also the valley masters of the 4 valleys of the inner sect, all stepped forward and took the initiative to greet Luo Yuanqiu. Valley masters, we haven't seen each other for many years. You all look as good as ever, but I have grown old. Luo Yuanqiu grinned at He Jin, Lian Kuan, and the others. Soon after, the few old men and women behind Luo Yuanqiu, as well as the young men and women behind the old men, all stepped forward and bowed to Yu Yuqing, the Lightning Sword Sect leader. These are the elders of the Thunder Knife Sect, and the young men and women behind them are the rising stars of the Thunder Knife Sect. After Luo Yuanxiu introduced the people behind him, he smiled at Yu Yuqing and said, "Sect leader Yu, this time I came out, I originally wanted to bring these little guys out for a walk and to train. Now that I think about it, it's quite a coincidence that we ended up near the Lightning Sword Sect." Hearing Luo Yuanxiu say this, He Jin's lips curled into a mocking smile. He could guess that Luo Yuanxiu was about to get to the point. "Originally, I did not intend to disturb you, but these young people said that they wanted to come to the Lightning Sword Sect to see the glory of the talented disciples of the Lightning Sword Sect. At that time I told them, you guys can't compare to the talented disciples of the Lightning Sword Sect, you guys are too far behind. But who knew that they would not accept it? In the end, I really could not dissuade them, so I brought them here to pay a visit to your sect, so that they would know that there is always someone better out there. Sect leader Yu, I hope we did not disturb your sect?" As Luo Yuanxiu spoke, his smile became brighter as he looked at Yu Yuqing. "Of course not." Yu Yuqing's eyes flashed with an almost undetectable light, but he maintained a smile on his face. "I heard that sect leader Luo has recently accepted a very talented disciple. He is only 24 years old, but he is already a mid-Dharma adept. I wonder, if he is here this time?" Yu Yuqing asked. Luo Yuanxiu laughed. "Sect leader Yu is really well informed, you even know that I have recently accepted a new disciple. Yujing, come out and greet your senior uncle Yu." As Luo Yuanxiu tilted his head slightly and spoke, the youngest-looking young man dressed in black walked out slowly and bowed slightly to Yu Yuqing. "I am Han Yujing. Greetings, senior uncle Yu. I heard from my master that the Lightning Sword Sect is filled with talented disciples, far surpassing our Thunder Knife Sect. Today Yujing and a few other senior brothers and sisters have made a rare trip to the Lightning Sword Sect, and we would like to meet the senior brothers and sisters of your sect." Han Yujing was dressed in black. He was tall and well-built, and his slightly handsome face was cold and distant, giving off a feeling that he was 1,000 miles away. The moment he opened his mouth, he directly said that he wanted to exchange pointers with the disciples of the Lightning Sword Sect. "I wonder if that would be convenient?" Han Yujing asked directly. "Of course not." At this time, as the sect leader of the Lightning Sword Sect, Yu Yuqing naturally could not refuse. If he did, would it not be admitting that the Lightning Sword Sect did not have any talented disciples? Moreover, although Han Yujing was highly talented, he was already a mid-Dharma adept at 25 years old. Regardless of age, just based on the strength of a mid-Dharma adept, the Lightning Sword Sect had so many mid-Dharma adepts, and none of them were weaker than him. "In that case, I would like to trouble senior uncle Yu to make the arrangements." Han Yujing continued. "My senior brothers and sisters and I are all mid-Dharma adepts. Your sect can arrange for any disciple of the same level to exchange pointers with us. I heard from Master that your sect's largest arena is magnificent and can hold tens of thousands of people. My senior brothers and sisters and I would like to exchange pointers with your talented disciples there." Han Yujing immediately said that he wanted to exchange pointers with a disciple of the Lightning Sword Sect at the largest arena of the sect. He also said that he wanted to challenge a disciple of the same level of practice as them, which was a mid-Dharma adept. The Lightning Sword Sect had a total of 6 arenas. 5 of them were smaller, and they were located on the Lightning Peak and in the 4 valleys of the inner sect. There was another arena, which was also the largest arena of the Lightning Sword Sect, but it was located in the area where the 5 outer halls were located. Unlike the other 5 arenas which were only used by core disciples and inner sect disciples, this arena was used by all the disciples of the Lightning Sword Sect, so it was especially spacious. It seems that the disciple of the Thunder Knife Sect leader Luo Yuanxiu is not only talented, but also very strong. On the way back to the Autumn Valley, He Jin said to He Mingxi, "I can see that." He Mingxi nodded. "He is very confident. He is probably confident that there are no mid-Dharma adepts in the Lightning Sword Sect who are his match." After the Lightning Sword Sect leader Yu Yuqing had agreed to the request of the Thunder Knife Sect disciple Han Yujing, he had instructed the 4 valley heads, including He Jin, to bring the most outstanding mid-Dharma disciples of their respective valleys to the outer sect training grounds. Yu Yuqing himself, along with a few elders of the Lightning Peak, led the group of Thunder Knife Sect disciples to the outer sect arena. As the 4 valley heads returned to their respective valleys, the news spread quickly, and everyone in the inner sect knew that the Thunder Knife Sect had come to challenge them. "The Thunder Knife Sect leader actually brought a few mid-Dharma adepts to challenge us? Does he really think that the Lightning Sword Sect is easy to bully?" Looks like they've come with ill intentions. I've long heard that the leader of the Thunder Knife sect has recently taken in a 24-year-old mid-Dharma adept as a personal disciple. Now that he's here as well, I'm sure he's not weak. Otherwise, he wouldn't have threatened to challenge any of our mid-Dharma adepts. If I had known this day would come, I would not have been in a hurry to break through to the late Dharma stage last month. This time, the Thunder Knife sect only brought a few mid-Dharma adepts. If the Lightning Sword sect does not have any disciples of the same level to deal with them, we will be embarrassed. The Thunder Knife sect must have brought their strongest mid-Dharma adepts here. They really have ulterior motives. They came prepared. However, the Lightning Sword sect has no choice but to accept their challenge. After the news spread throughout the 4 valleys of the inner sect, it began to spread to the outer sect. Instantly, everyone in the outer sect, from outer sect elders to outer sect disciples, all rushed to the arena. The Summer Valley. Lian Qin, after you were defeated by Zhou Donghuang previously, you were able to enter the mid-Dharma stage under the pressure that Zhou Donghuang exerted on you. Furthermore, your Dharma power has been further refined, allowing you to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the most outstanding mid-Dharma disciples of the Summer Valley. You can say that this is a blessing in disguise. Lian Kuan returned to the Summer Valley and asked a few Summer Valley elders to gather the most outstanding mid-Dharma adepts in the Summer Valley, and he also found Lian Qin today. The Thunder Knife sect has come with ill intentions. If you can defeat any one of the mid-Dharma disciples from the Thunder Knife sect, I can use this opportunity to ask the sect leader to allow you to enter the Lightning Peak early and become a core disciple there. The core disciples of the Lightning Peak were not all primordial soul adepts. In the Lightning Sword sect, some of the most talented adepts had the opportunity to enter the Lightning Peak early and become a core disciple. Of course, they needed the permission of the Lightning Sword sect leader. Master, I will definitely live up to your expectations. Lian Qin clenched his fists tightly, his eyes shining. If he could enter the Lightning Peak early, it would only be beneficial to him. End of this chapter. Chapter 246. Autumn Valley. After He Jin brought He Mingxi back, he went alone to look for the strongest mid-Dharma disciple in the Autumn Valley. At the same time, he asked He Mingxi to look for Zhou Donghuang. Although Zhou Donghuang had yet to display his true power after he had entered the mid-Dharma stage, he was still a formidable opponent. However, in his opinion, the technique that Zhou Donghuang practiced must also be a deity-level technique, which was why he was able to display the battle power of a mid-Dharma adept when he had just entered the early Dharma stage. Now that Zhou Donghuang had entered the mid-Dharma stage, he would definitely be stronger than before. At the very least, within the Autumn Valley and the Lightning Sword sect, it would be difficult to find a mid-Dharma adept who was a match for him. He Jin did not know. The Lord of the Four Supremes, that Zhou Donghuang was currently practicing could only be considered a primordial soul technique, which meant that he could only train up to the ultimate primordial soul stage. Zhou Donghuang would have to figure out the rest of the way on his own. However, even though the Lord of the Four Supremes could only be considered a primordial soul technique, it was still superior to the 3 deity-level techniques that Zhou Donghuang possessed. Be it the Thousand-Star Sword Technique, the Fiery Thunder Refinement Regimen, or the Manual of Unruffled Supreme, none of them were as good as the Lord of the Four Supremes before the Soul Formation stage. Now, with the help of the Lord of the Four Supremes, Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power was so perfect that there was no room for improvement. There was no need to train at all. Even the Dharma idol condensed by the 3 deities' tribulation-level cultivation methods in his possession was close to perfection. It still needed some simple tempering to reach true perfection. Little junior brother. When He Mingxi found Zhou Donghuang, he was in the middle of refining elixirs in his room. He Jin had recently helped him gather some rare herbs, but he had not had time to refine them into the elixirs he needed. However, seeing that Zhou Donghuang did not respond within a short period of time, He Mingxi was not anxious and waited quietly outside. After 15 minutes, Zhou Donghuang finally pushed open the door and walked out. Third senior sister, are you looking for me? Little junior brother, my father asked me to look for you. He wants you to come with us to the outer sect martial arts arena. He Mingxi said. Valley Master is looking for me? Outer sect martial arts practice field? What's the matter? Zhou Donghuang was confused. Following He Mingxi's explanation, Zhou Donghuang finally understood what had happened. Little junior brother, if you can help the sect this time, the sect leader will definitely make an exception to let you enter the Lightning Peak in advance and become a core disciple. He Mingxi said. Zhou Donghuang had long heard that core disciples were treated very well in the Lightning Sword sect. But now he had the unconditional support of the Autumn Valley's valley head, He Jin. He did not care about the treatment of a core disciple at all. He was not too interested in becoming a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. However, since He Jin asked him to go with him and he had nothing to do now, it was not a big deal for him to join in the fun. During this period of time he had either been practicing or refining elixirs. It had been a long time since he had left the Autumn Valley, so it was not a bad idea to go out and relax. Third senior sister, did you tell the valley head about me entering the mid-Dharma stage? It was not difficult for Zhou Donghuang to guess this, because only He Mingxi knew that he had entered the mid-Dharma stage. Of course, out of the 4 Dharma powers in Zhou Donghuang's body, only the White Tiger Dharma power had broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. The other 3 Dharma powers were still at the early Dharma stage. According to the strict requirements of the Way of the Four Supremes, Zhou Donghuang could only be considered a mid-Dharma adept when all 4 Dharma powers had broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. The reason why he had chosen to let the White Tiger Dharma power break through first was because it had the ability to deceive others, so he would not be too conspicuous. Otherwise, once the Green Dragon Dharma power and the Vermilion Bird Dharma power appeared, anyone would be able to tell that the technique he was practicing was not simple. The Black Tortoise Dharma power could also deceive others, but it was more focused on defense, so it was not as helpful to him as the White Tiger Dharma power. He Mingxi nodded. Little junior brother, it was not convenient for me to fight, otherwise I would not have needed you to hold the line this time. I could have defeated Han Yujing of the Thunder Knife sect. Although He Mingxi had not sparred with anyone since she had entered the mid-Dharma stage, she could still feel how powerful she was. Once her near-perfect sword-shaped Dharma power appeared, even the most outstanding mid-Dharma adepts in the Autumn Valley would not be able to withstand more than 3 blows from her. After completely switching to the Thousand-Star Sword technique, He Mingxi's sword-shaped Dharma power was still the same, but it was no longer the sword-shaped Dharma power of the past. It was infinitely close to perfection. As long as she had enough time, she would be able to train her sword-shaped Dharma power to the point of perfection. Third senior sister, it is indeed not convenient for you to fight. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Whether it was He Mingxi or De Zhuang, the people of the Lightning Sword sect knew them very well. If they were to suddenly display their near-perfect Dharma power, some people would definitely suspect that they had obtained an extraordinary technique. At that time, even He Jin might not be able to protect them. Whether it was the Thousand-Star Sword technique or the Fiery Thunder training regimen, as long as they did not cooperate and hand them over, the entire Lightning Sword sect would turn against them. You and De Zhuang, before you reach the ultimate Dharma stage, try not to fight in front of others. Even if you do fight, try to preserve your strength. Zhou Donghuang said. My father said the same thing. He Mingxi felt a little helpless, but she also knew that whether it was her father or this little brother in front of her, they were both doing this for her own good. After a while, Zhou Donghuang and He Mingxi met up with He Jin. At this time, behind He Jin, there were already 3 young men. They were the best of the mid-Dharma adepts of the Autumn Valley. The young man, who was dressed in a blue robe, was of medium build and had average looks. After frowning at Zhou Donghuang, his gaze landed on He Mingxi, and in that instant, his gaze became gentle. Junior sister Mingxi, you should be reaching the mid-Dharma stage soon, right? Yes. He Mingxi was a little perfunctory with the young man in blue, and she nodded lightly. She did not tell him that she had already reached the mid-Dharma stage. Junior sister Mingxi, I heard from the valley head that the few mid-Dharma adepts of the Thunder Knife sect have come with ill intentions. Today Wang Qing will let them know what it feels like to go for wool and come home shorn. The young man in blue continued. Wang Qing, there's no point in talking big now. Wait until you really defeat them first. Seeing that Wang Qing was not done yet, He Mingxi said impatiently. Junior sister Mingxi, if I defeat them, how about you give me a chance to pursue you? Wang Qing ignored He Mingxi's impatience as if he was already used to it. He continued to smile at He Mingxi. Sure. He Mingxi replied calmly. But if you can't defeat them, from today onwards if you see me, make a detour. Wang Qing was stunned at first, and then his face lit up with joy. Sure. Unlike Wang Qing, who was drooling over He Mingxi after seeing her, the other 2 young men were much calmer, and they did not say a word from start to finish. Ibn Luji, when we reach the outer sect arena later, please give me some face. Don't make a move before me. Those idiots from the Thunder Knife sect are mine. Wang Qing said to the other 2 young men. Wang Qing, since the leader of the Thunder Knife sect dares to bring them to challenge any of the mid-Dharma adepts of the Lightning Sword sect, it means that they are not weak. Don't underestimate them. One of the young men looked at Wang Cheng and said worriedly, "Ah, Lu Ji, you're too cautious. They are not weak, but do you think we are? You think too highly of us." Wang Cheng said nonchalantly. "Shut up." Wang Cheng's incessant chatter finally made Zhou Donghuang a little impatient, and he even let out a low growl, interrupting Wang Cheng. Instantly Wang Cheng's expression changed, and he glared at Zhou Donghuang. Just as he was about to scold him, He Jin said, "Wang Cheng, be quiet." Hearing He Jin, the Autumn Valley head, speak up, Wang Cheng naturally did not dare to speak again. However, his gaze towards Zhou Donghuang was full of hatred and resentment. He was already jealous of He Mingxi and Zhou Donghuang's closeness, and now that Zhou Donghuang was the target of his anger, he was instantly enraged. "Zhou Donghuang, you'd better not let me find a chance. Otherwise I will definitely kill you." Wang Cheng swore in his heart, and a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. In this instant Zhou Donghuang felt as if he was being stared at by a poisonous snake. He subconsciously turned his head to look, and when he met Wang Cheng's gaze, he could not help but laugh coldly. "What? You want to kill me?" "Umph." Wang Cheng snorted coldly. His voice was so cold that it made one's hair stand on end. It was as if he had silently agreed to Zhou Donghuang's question. "Chem?" Just then He Jin turned around and saw the murderous glint in Wang Cheng's eyes as he looked at Zhou Donghuang, and his expression darkened. Immediately after, He Jin raised his hand casually, and an invisible force rose up. Then, in the void, it turned into tens of thousands of clearly visible sword lights, like stars in the starry sky. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. As the dense sword gleams swept past, it was like a rain of swords enveloped Wang Cheng from all directions. Wang Cheng's expression changed, and he did not even have time to react before the sword gleams engulfed him. The sword gleams dissipated in the blink of an eye, and the blood mist in the air dissipated, leaving behind only a space ring that floated down. In the blink of an eye, a living person had been completely destroyed. He had died without a proper burial. Wang Cheng, a disciple of the Autumn Valley, attempted to kill a fellow disciple. As the Autumn Valley head, I will carry out the punishment on behalf of the law enforcement hall and clean up the sect. After Wang Cheng's death, He Jin spoke coldly. Apart from Zhou Donghuang and He Mingxi, only Lu Ji and Hebin were present, and He Jin's words were obviously directed at them. When Lu Ji and Hebin heard He Jin's words, they finally recovered from the shock of Wang Cheng's death. They felt their bodies tremble, and a chill rose from the soles of their feet to their heads, causing their scalps to go numb. End of this chapter. Chapter 247. Just because of one sentence from Zhou Donghuang, a new disciple who had just joined the Autumn Valley for half a year, and Wang Cheng had responded coldly, the Autumn Valley head had killed him? Moreover, he had said that he would execute him on behalf of the law enforcement hall. As the Autumn Valley head, He Jin had this authority, but he had never exercised it. In front of others, He Jin had always been kind and amiable. Even though Wang Cheng's words had offended his daughter He Mingxi, He Jin didn't say anything. But now He Jin had killed Wang Cheng for Zhou Donghuang. Whether it was Liuji or Hebin, when they looked at Zhou Donghuang again, their eyes were filled with fear. Although they did not know why the valley head would do this for Zhou Donghuang, they knew that Zhou Donghuang was not someone they could afford to offend. "Donghuang, are you satisfied with how I've handled this matter?" He Jin asked Zhou Donghuang with a smile. If they had not seen him kill Wang Cheng with their own eyes, Liuji and Hebin would have thought that he had been replaced. "Thank you, valley head." Zhou Donghuang nodded with a smile. "In that case, let's continue to the outer sect arena." He Jin once again brought Zhou Donghuang, He Mingxi, and the other two disciples to the outer sect arena. The entire journey was silent, and neither Liuji nor Hebin dared to breathe too loudly. The Autumn Valley head is here. Zhou Donghuang and the others had just arrived at the outer sect arena when many outer sect disciples recognized He Jin, and they all exclaimed in surprise. Now that the four valley heads have brought their people, it looks like the sparring between the mid-Dharma adepts of the Lightning Sword sect and the Thunder Knife sect is about to begin. The people of the Thunder Knife sect are too arrogant, how dare they challenge the Lightning Sword sect? In our Lightning Sword sect, even mid-Dharma adepts are as talented as the clouds. The Thunder Knife sect has come with ill intentions, we cannot underestimate them. Now, among the group of Lightning Sword sect elders and disciples who had appeared at the outer sect arena to watch the show, some were confident in their own mid-Dharma adepts, while others were wary of the Thunder Knife sect's ill intentions. "Zhou Donghuang, what a rare occasion. I didn't expect you to be here too." I've looked for you many times, but you were always in seclusion. Just as the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, had brought Zhou Donghuang and his group to meet up with the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, who was leading the group, a seemingly frivolous young man walked up to Zhou Donghuang with a smile on his face. This young man was none other than the only son of the Spring Valley head, Lu Lang. He was a famous spoiled brat of the Lightning Sword sect. Lu Lang stood in the air, his body surrounded by a faint golden glow. It was obvious that he was still at the ultimate primal core stage and had yet to enter the Dharma stage. You're looking for me? What's the matter? Zhou Donghuang glanced at Lu Lang. He was not familiar with Lu Lang. Previously, Lu Lang had pestered him to help him resell the fake goods. Zhou Donghuang had been happy to be free, so he had transferred the fake goods to Lu Lang for him to sell. That time, Lu Lang had successfully sold all the fake goods to the elders of the Summer Valley. His efficiency was so high that it made people gasp in admiration. Of course, Zhou Donghuang did not feel that he owed Lu Lang a favor because of this, because Lu Lang did it because he thought it was fun. They were just taking what they needed from each other. Can't I look for you if I have nothing to do? Lu Lang looked at Zhou Donghuang with some resentment in his eyes. He grinned and said, at least we can be considered friends now, right? Even Lu Lang did not know why a group of people of the same age as him surrounded him and tried to curry favor with him, but he did not like to bother with them. However, Zhou Donghuang, who was even colder than him, left a good impression on him. He felt that Zhou Donghuang's knowledge of the fake goods was amusing, and he also felt that Zhou Donghuang had just entered the Dharma stage and was able to defeat the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Can. He was very powerful and admired him. Friend? Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Young Master Lu, I, Zhou Donghuang, am not worthy of being your friend. If you have nothing to do, go back to where you came from. Zhou Donghuang had heard many of Lu Lang's spoiled brat deeds. He looked down on this person from the bottom of his heart and did not want to have too much to do with him. Zhou Donghuang, you are indeed crazier and more arrogant than me. Lu Lang's eyes flashed and he said with a determined expression, however, I believe that you will acknowledge me as a friend sooner or later. As he said this, Lu Lang looked deeply at Zhou Donghuang and then turned to leave. However, Zhou Donghuang pretended not to hear Lu Lang's words. Little junior brother, that Lu Lang is usually very arrogant and never looks at anyone. I did not expect that he would actually come up to you and want to be your friend, and you even rejected him. He Mingshi smiled. Without his father, he is nothing. Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Actually, you can't say that. If you are not included, he is the fastest person in the Lightning Sword sect to enter the ultimate primal core stage in the past 100 years. He Mingshi shook her head and said, he is younger than you by a year, but he has already entered the ultimate primal core stage and has been a golden essence adept for 2 years. Although he is a spoiled brat, his martial arts talent is not bad at all. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed and he did not reply, He Mingshi did not continue on this topic and changed the topic. That is the leader of the Lightning Sword sect, Yu Yuqing. He Mingshi looked at the leader of the Lightning Sword sect and introduced him to Zhou Donghuang. The person in front of Lu Lang is his father, the Spring Valley head, Lu Fengyao. After introducing Yu Yuqing, He Mingshi introduced Zhou Donghuang to the other 3 valley heads of the 4 inner valleys. The other 3 valley heads had already arrived at the outer sect arena. That is the Summer Valley head Lian Kuan. When you went to the Summer Valley that day, although you heard his voice, you did not see him. That Lian Can is here too. That is the Winter Valley head Lung Qianxiu. The Spring Valley head Lu Fengyao stood in front of Lu Lang. He was of medium build and had a scholarly appearance. He wore a gray robe and looked like a middle-aged scholar. The Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan, was extremely short, but his eyes were bright and full of energy. One look and anyone could tell that he was not someone to be trifled with. The Winter Valley head, Lung Qianxiu, was tall and handsome, and his face was like jade. Like Zhou Donghuang, he wore a plain white robe and stood there, exuding a cold aura. The few of them were all middle-aged men. That is the Thunder Knife sect leader Luo Yuanxiu. After introducing the other 3 valley heads of the 4 inner valleys, He Mingshi continued to introduce the leader of the group to Zhou Donghuang. The Thunder Knife sect leader Luo Yuanxiu was accompanied by a few elders of the Thunder Knife sect, as well as a few young men and women. Sect leader Yu, most of the people should have arrived, right? Luo Yuanxiu smiled brightly at the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing. Can we begin now? Of course. Yu Yuqing nodded. Those who come are guests. Sect leader Luo, please allow the genius disciples of the Thunder Knife sect to enter first. Hi, good. Sect leader Yu is indeed straightforward. Luo Yuanxiu laughed and tilted his head slightly, calling out, Xie Yun. As Luo Yuanxiu's voice fell, one of the young men and women, a tall young man dressed in a gray robe, stepped forward. After a moment, his figure flashed and he landed in the center of the vast martial arts practice field. Thunder Knife Sect Inner Disciple Xie Yun, Mid-Dharma Adept, would like to challenge any disciple of the Lightning Sword Sect of the same level of practice, regardless of age. Please enlighten me. Xie Yun stood in the arena, his voice imbued with inner yuan spreading far and wide. Almost as soon as Xie Yun finished speaking, a large man with a curly beard flew into the arena and stood opposite him. I am Zhang Kuan, an outer disciple of the Lightning Sword Sect, a mid-Dharma adept. I am here to experience the skills of the genius disciples of the Thunder Knife Sect. Zhang Kuan, finish him. Zhang Kuan, you can do it. The group of outer disciples all cheered loudly for Zhang Kuan, each of them as if they were on steroids. They were extremely excited, as if the one to enter the arena was not Zhang Kuan, but them. This Zhang Kuan is almost invincible in the outer sect at the same level of practice. But in the inner sect there are many who can beat him, He Mingxi said. Zhou Donghuang heard He Mingxi's words. Even Wang Qing, who died at my father's hands, could at most fight Zhang Kuan to a draw. Lu Ji and Hebin, on the other hand, are slightly stronger than them. Almost as soon as He Mingxi finished speaking, the outer sect disciple Zhang Kuan had already made the first move. A giant Dharma power of 30 feet tall appeared, like a small mountain falling from the sky, shrouding the inner sect disciple of the Thunder Knife Sect, Xie Yun. Facing the approaching giant fist of Dharma, Xie Yun's eyes narrowed, but he did not dodge like most people had guessed. Buzz. A giant blade of Dharma appeared on Xie Yun's body, and it immediately flew into the sky to meet the giant fist of Dharma. After a moment of stalemate, the latter was split in half by the blade, and the thick inner yuan that had condensed into the giant fist of Dharma dissipated. Ugh! With his Dharma broken, Zhang Kuan, who had suffered the backlash of his inner yuan, opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood, his aura also weakening. Although he could still attack again in his current state, there was no chance of him winning. The genius disciple of the Lightning Sword Sect only has this much power? Xie Yun said mockingly. You, Zhang Kuan was so angry that his face turned red, and the giant fist of Dharma once again condensed on his body, but it was much dimmer than before. You are no match for him, stand down. At this time, a voice came from the sky, and then a figure descended from the sky, standing in front of Zhang Kuan. Was a young man. Lian Can. He Mingxi looked at the young man in shock, and her eyes showed some surprise. His level of practice has also broken through to the mid-Dharma stage? However, although his Dharma power has been trained well, he has still just broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. Normally, his power should at most be comparable to Zhang Kuan's. Since he has come down, it must be that his Dharma power has improved further. He Mingxi guessed. End of this chapter. Chapter 248. Lian Can. It's the direct disciple of the Summer Valley head, Lian Can. Isn't this Lian Can an early Dharma adept? Has he broken through? Lian Can's appearance immediately attracted the attention of many people. Lian Can was no stranger to the outer and inner sect of the Lightning Sword Sect. Although there had been rumors a few months ago that Lian Can had been defeated by a young man from the Autumn Valley who had just entered the Dharma stage, this did not affect their understanding of Lian Can's strength. If Lian Can had entered the mid-Dharma stage, his strength would definitely not be weaker than Zhang Kuan's. Moreover, now that he had personally witnessed Zhang Kuan being defeated by a single blade, it meant that he was extremely confident in his own strength. Brother Lian, your godson Lian Can must have just broken through to the mid-Dharma stage, right? Can he win? The Spring Valley head, Lu Fengyao, glanced at the Summer Valley head and asked. Brother Lu, just watch. Lian Kuan smiled lightly. Looks like Brother Lian has a lot of confidence in your godson Lian Can. Lu Fengyao looked deeply at Lian Kuan, and then his gaze returned to the arena. At this time, Lian Can had already begun fighting with the inner disciple of the Thunder Knife Sect, Xie Yun. Boom. Boom. When Lian Can's giant palm Dharma descended, it was as if a huge mountain was pressing down on them. It was imposing and powerful, as if it could crush everything in its path. Bus, 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 bus. Xie Yun's giant sword Dharma was like a ghost, and it was extremely strange. It weaved into a web of blades, and for a moment, it was hard to tell who was superior. Lian Can's strength has increased so much? The scene before her shocked He Mingxi. She was certain that if she had not switched to the Thousand-Star Sword technique, even if she had broken through to the mid-Dharma stage, she would not have been a match for Lien Kan. Lien Kan's Dharma had not only broken through to the mid-Dharma stage, but it had also been tempered to a lot of its flaws. Lien Kan's improvement is too great, isn't it? He Mingshi was in disbelief. At this time even Zhou Donghuang could not help but look surprised. He had not expected Lien Kan to improve so much in such a short period of time. Not only had his cultivation improved, but his Dharma power had also improved greatly. Lien Kun, your godson is not bad. He has just broken through to the mid-Dharma stage and already has such strength. His future is limitless. The Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, glanced at Lien Kun and was not stingy with his compliments. At the same time he promised, if he wins this battle, I will allow him to enter the Lightning Peak early and become a core disciple. Thank you, Sovereign. Lien Kun's eyes lit up as he hurriedly expressed his thanks. He hadn't expected that this sect master would take the initiative to bring up this matter without him having to mention it. At the same time, Lien Kun's gaze landed onto Lien Kan's figure with a hint of hope. Lien Kan, do your best. While Lien Kun was looking at Lien Kan, the Thunder Knife sect disciple, Han Yujing, spoke up impatiently. Xie Yun, stop fooling around. Ah, alright, junior brother Yujing. Hearing Han Yujing's words, Xie Yun laughed. Then the light from the giant knife Dharma intensified, overpowering Lien Kan's palm Dharma in one fell swoop. Then, like a ghost, before Lien Kan could react, he was already behind Lien Kan. With a single push of his palm, Lien Kan was sent flying. Wah! Lien Kan spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Lien Kan had been defeated. Your abilities are not bad, but it's a pity that you're still lacking compared to me. Xie Yun looked at Lien Kan, who had fallen to the ground pathetically and was staring at him with a look of dissatisfaction. He shook his head and smiled. If you could improve your Dharma power further, perhaps you would be able to fight me to a draw. Right now you're too weak. Xie Yun's words made Lien Kan's expression darken. Not only had he been defeated, but he had also missed an opportunity to enter the Lightning Peak early. Lien Kan has been defeated? Lien Kan's defeat instantly caused the surrounding elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect to fall silent. Lien Kan's abilities were obvious to all. Among all the mid-Dharma adepts in the Lightning Sword sect, he was considered one of the best. But now he had been defeated by an inner disciple of the Thunder Knife sect. Although they knew that the Thunder Knife sect had definitely come prepared this time, seeing Lien Kan, who was so strong, lose at the hands of his opponent still made the Lightning Sword sect very upset. I didn't expect him to have hidden his abilities. Mingshi looked at Xie Yun in surprise. Of course, although Xie Yun had hidden his abilities with her current abilities, she was still confident that she could easily defeat him. The Thousand-Star Sword technique was a deity-level technique. As one of the best techniques in the universe, the strength of her Dharma power was unimaginable. Lu Ji, you go. He Jin turned to look at the Autumn Valley disciple, Lu Ji, who was standing behind him. Yes, Valley leader. Lu Ji replied and landed on the ground. In the blink of an eye he was already in the arena. If you don't count us in? Lu Ji's abilities are the strongest of the mid-Dharma adepts in the Autumn Valley, Mingshi said. Lu Ji left the arena and looked at Xie Yun. You rest for a while and then we'll continue. Lu Ji left the stage and looked at Xie Yun. Take a break. We'll continue. There's no need for that. Xie Yun shook his head, obviously not taking Lu Ji seriously. This angered Lu Ji and he attacked in anger. He displayed abilities that were even stronger than Lien Kan's, and in the end he defeated the careless Xie Yun. Most of the people present could see that if Xie Yun had rested for a while, even if he could not defeat Lu Ji, he would at least be able to fight to a draw. At the last critical moment, although Xie Yun had taken out an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon in a moment of desperation, Lu Ji also had an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon and still defeated him. Xie Yun, you were careless and now you've lost, haven't you? There were a total of 4 youths from the Thunder Knife sect present today, 3 young men and 1 young woman. Now, the beautiful and valiant-looking woman could not help but make fun of Xie Yun after he returned. I didn't expect this kid to be so much stronger than Lien Kan. I failed miserably. Xie Yun was a little angry. If not for the fact that he had used up a lot of inner yuan in his fight with Lien Kan, he would have been able to fight to a draw. Lu Ji, you're amazing. Lu Ji is indeed a genius among the Autumn Valley disciples. He lives up to his name. After Lu Ji defeated Xie Yun, the group of Lightning Sword sect disciples who had been silent because of Lien Kan's defeat all cheered loudly. Thunder Knife sect inner disciple Wang Ping. Among the 3 from the Thunder Knife sect, another young man stepped onto the stage and used a similar giant knife Dharma power. he fought with Lu Ji, who had used a giant sword Dharma power. Both of them did not use their Dharma spirit weapons because they both had the same Dharma spirit weapons, so they could not gain any advantage. Just like before, when Xie Yun used his Dharma spirit weapon when he was defeated, it was useless and could not change the outcome. After a few dozen moves, Lu Ji was defeated. Wang Ping's ability was slightly stronger than Xie Yun's. Could it be that Xie Yun is the weakest of the 4 mid-Dharma adepts from the Thunder Knife sect this time? Many of the Lightning Sword sect disciples stared with wide eyes, their faces filled with shock as they guessed. And it turned out that they had guessed correctly. Wang Ping was calmer than Xie Yun. After resting for a while, he faced the next Lightning Sword sect disciple, a Winter Valley inner disciple who was slightly stronger than Lu Ji. In the end, both of them fought to a draw. Wang Ping continued to rest and once again faced the Spring Valley inner disciple. This Spring Valley inner disciple was the personal disciple of the Spring Valley head, and his name was Hu Jian. Within 10 moves he defeated Wang Ping. Hu Jian was also one of the Lightning Sword sect's core disciples. He had not even entered the Primordial Soul stage, but he had already been given special permission to enter the Lightning Peak and become a core disciple. The core disciples of the Lightning Sword sect are indeed powerful. Wang Ping sighed in admiration and retreated. At that moment, there were only 2 people left on the Thunder Knife sect's side. But even so, the hearts of the Lightning Sword sect disciples who were present were still very heavy. On their side, even their core disciples had been sent out. If the remaining man and woman from the Thunder Knife sect were stronger than the previous 2, the Lightning Sword sect would be in danger. Who knew if the next person would be able to defeat Hu Jian? Hu Jian was widely recognized as the number 1 mid-Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect. In fact, before he had even entered the mid-Dharma stage, he had been recognized as the number 1 early Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect. When he was still a Golden Essence adept, he had already begun to train his Dharma power, which allowed him to possess extremely strong battle power when he had just entered the Dharma stage. It was precisely because of this that he had been accepted into the Lightning Peak even though he was only at the Dharma stage, and he had become a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Sect leader Yu, this core disciple of your Lightning Sword sect is really powerful. Among the mid-Dharma adepts of your Lightning Sword sect, there is probably no one who can compare to him, right? Although 2 of the Thunder Knife sect's disciples had been defeated, the Thunder Knife sect leader Luo Yuanxiu still had a calm expression on his face as he looked at the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, and asked with a smile. Sect leader Luo, it seems like you are very confident in the remaining 2 disciples of your Thunder Knife sect. Yu Yuqing looked at Luo Yuanxiu and sighed inwardly. He knew that he had been too careless. He had not expected the Thunder Knife sect to have so many strong mid-Dharma adepts. Hu Jian was indeed the last trump card of the Lightning Sword sect. Senior Hu Jian, if you defeat the remaining 2 from the Thunder Knife sect, I'll get my Shaoli to introduce you to the beauties of her sect. Lu Lang waved his fist at Hu Jian and shouted, haven't you always been envious of me and wanted to find a soulmate? As long as you defeat the remaining 2 from the Thunder Knife sect, I'll help you find one. Lu Lang's words completely broke the tense atmosphere, and many elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect could not help but laugh. You little brat, get lost. The Spring Valley head, Lu Fengyao, glared at Lu Lang, but his voice was still warm and gentle, without the slightest hint of reprimand. It was clear that he was very tolerant of Lu Lang, his only son. Little brother, look at how calm the Thunder Knife sect leader is. Senior Hu Jian is in danger, He Mingshi said with a frown. It's a pity I can't fight. Otherwise, no matter how strong the remaining 2 from the Thunder Knife sect are, as long as they are mid-Dharma adepts, I'll definitely defeat them. End of this chapter. Chapter 249. If they weren't confident, why would the Thunder Knife sect suggest such a duel? Zhou Donghuang shook his head and smiled at He Mingshi's words. Before he came, he had learned the ins and outs of the matter from He Mingshi. He knew that the sparring before him was proposed by the Thunder Knife sect. If they weren't confident, why would the Thunder Knife sect suggest it? The 4 young men and women from the Thunder Knife sect who had come this time were definitely the 4 strongest mid-Dharma adepts of the Thunder Knife sect. Core disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Qing Yenyang. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the young woman from the Thunder Knife sect descended from the sky. Her clothes fluttered in the wind like a butterfly, and her every movement exuded a strange charm. The moment she spoke, the crowd was shocked. The Thunder Knife sect originated from the Lightning Sword sect, and the Thunder Knife sect system was basically copied from the Lightning Sword sect. For example, the Lightning Sword sect had 5 outer halls and 4 inner valleys. The Thunder Knife sect was the same. The Lightning Sword sect had the Lightning Peak, and the Thunder Knife sect had the Thunder Palace. The Thunder Knife sect's core disciple test was the same as the Lightning Sword sect's. This woman named Qing Yenyang was a core disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, and a mid-Dharma adept at that. This meant that her ability might not be weaker than that of the Lightning Sword sect's core disciple, Hu Jian. A female disciple? A mid-Dharma core disciple? The senior members of the Lightning Sword sect, including sect leader Yu Yuqing, subconsciously looked at the Thunder Knife sect leader Luo Yuanxiu. The smile on Luo Yuanxiu's face grew brighter, as if he had high hopes for this female disciple. Sect leader Luo. At this time the Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan, looked at Luo Yuanxiu and asked curiously, among the mid-Dharma adepts of the Thunder Knife sect, who is stronger, this female core disciple or the disciple you recently accepted? As he spoke, Lian Kuan's gaze subconsciously fell on Han Yujing, who was behind Luo Yuanxiu. Han Yujing was a genius disciple recently accepted by the Thunder Knife sect. He was said to be a rare talent on the Tailao planet, and he had been accepted by sect leader Luo Yuanxiu the moment he entered the sect. Ha! Luo Yuanxiu laughed out loud and said, that girl Qing Yenyang was defeated in less than 3 moves against Yu Zheng. Luo Yuanxiu's words caused Lian Kuan's pupils to rapidly shrink. Lian Kan, who had already returned behind him, was also so frightened that his expression changed greatly. In the next moment, everyone's gazes once again landed on the Thunder Knife sect's core disciple, Qing Yenyang, and their gazes became a little heavy. Please. After Qing Yenyang landed, Hu Jian nodded at her. He did not let his guard down just because his opponent was a lady. This was because he knew that becoming a core disciple of the Thunder Knife sect before attaining the primordial soul stage was as difficult as becoming a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Moreover, the lower the cultivation, the harder it was. The late Dharma stage was harder than the Dharma stage, and the mid-Dharma stage was even harder than the late Dharma stage. He was currently the only mid-Dharma core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. This showed how difficult it was for a disciple of the Lightning Sword sect to become a core disciple at the mid-Dharma stage. Unless he was lucky and met with a special situation. Just like just now, the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing had promised that as long as the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Ken, could defeat the inner disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, he would be able to enter the Lightning Peak early and become a core disciple. If Lian Ken won, he would become the second mid-Dharma core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. However, Lian Ken had lost. Of course, Lian Ken was lucky to have this opportunity, but a large part of the reason was because he was the adopted son of the Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan. If he was just an ordinary disciple of the Summer Valley, the Lightning Sword sect leader would never have made such a promise. You recover first. I don't take advantage of you. Qing Yenyang said. I didn't use much energy so it won't affect my performance. Hu Jian shook his head. Recover, I don't want to be a laughing stock. Qing Yenyang continued. Hearing this, Hu Jian could only sit down cross-legged and take out a high-quality spirit stone to absorb the spirit energy to recover the inner yuan that had been used up by his Dharma power. After about 10 breaths, Hu Jian had recovered and stood up. I'm done. Please. Qing Yenyang obviously wanted Hu Jian to make the first move. And Hu Jian did not dare to be careless. Since Qing Yenyang had asked him to make the first move, he did not decline. After all, today was the Lightning Sword sect's home ground. If he were to lose to his opponent because of this, he would be the last hope of the Lightning Sword sect. Of course, the reason why Hu Jian had such thoughts was because he had not heard what the Thunder Knife sect leader, Luo Yuanxiu, had said to the Lightning Sword sect Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan. In the Thunder Knife sect, the strongest mid-Dharma adept was not Qing Yenyang, but the only 24-year-old mid-Dharma adept, Han Yujing. Whoosh. Hu Jian's Dharma power appeared, and a giant sword Dharma power that was 3 feet tall accompanied his figure as it flew towards Qing Yenyang. Whoosh. Faced with the aggressive Hu Jian who had made the first move, Qing Yenyang's Dharma power also appeared. A giant sword Dharma power that was also 3 feet tall sliced through the air and met Hu Jian head-on. These two were the core disciples of the Lightning Sword sect and the Thunder Knife sect respectively. They both represented the standard of the mid-Dharma core disciples of both sections. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Hu Jian and Qing Yenyang exchanged blows. In the blink of an eye, 10 blows had passed, then 20, then 30. After 100 blows, there was still no clear winner. After 200 blows, they were still evenly matched. The two of them separated. Looks like it's a draw again, He Mingshi said as she looked at him. Mingxi glanced at Zhou Donghuang and said, He narrowed his eyes lazily. The exchange of blows between the two of them was extremely boring to him. If not for the fact that He Jin had intentionally asked him to support them, he would have left long ago. Even going back to sleep was better than staying here. How about we call this a draw? Qing Yinyang asked as she looked at Hu Jian. At the same time, there was a hint of admiration in her eyes. A core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect indeed had some skills. Hu Jian nodded helplessly. In this battle he had already given it his all, but he still could not defeat his opponent. Although the other party was a woman, her strength was not inferior to his at all. Sect leader Yu, I did not expect a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect to be so outstanding. Luo Yuanxiu looked at Yu Yuqing and sighed. I originally thought that Qing Yinyang would be able to defeat Hu Jian, but I did not expect that Hu Jian had hidden his strength. The strength that Hu Jian had displayed just now was indeed much stronger than what he had displayed in the previous battle. Obviously, the inner disciple of the Thunder Knife sect had not forced him to use his full strength. Sect leader Luo, you really came prepared this time. Yu Yuqing shook his head with a bitter smile. Even Hu Jian had been defeated. He felt that the Lightning Sword sect had already lost today. Today's sparring session was between the Lightning Sword sect and the Thunder Knife sect, and it was also between mid-Dharma adepts. The Lightning Sword sect could not possibly send a late Dharma adept or above to fight. Does your sect have any mid-Dharma adepts who are stronger than you? After Qing Yinyang and Hu Jian had fought to a draw, she looked at him and asked, for example, does your sect have any other mid-Dharma core disciples? When Qing Yinyang asked this question, she was sitting cross-legged, absorbing the spirit energy from spirit stones to recover her inner yuan. Her eyes were filled with the desire to fight. In our Lightning Sword sect, I am the only mid-Dharma core disciple. Hu Jian shook his head. Hu Jian continued, since we have fought to a draw in this battle, it means that this sparring session between our two sects has ended in a draw. No. Qing Yinyang shook her head. No. Hu Jian frowned. Do you want to continue? Hu Jian instinctively thought that the woman in front of him was the strongest mid-Dharma adept in the Thunder Knife sect. This was because he could not imagine that the Thunder Knife sect could produce a mid-Dharma adept who was stronger than her. Now the only mid-Dharma adept from the Thunder Knife sect who had yet to fight was Han Yujing. However, Han Yujing was only 24 years old this year. Even if he had entered the mid-Dharma stage, his Dharma power training would definitely be very rough. One could not do two things at once. When Dharma adepts chose to focus on improving their level of practice, they would naturally have to temporarily put aside their Dharma power training. Do you think that I am the strongest mid-Dharma adept in the Thunder Knife sect? Qing Yinyang asked with a hint of playfulness in her tone. Am I not? Hu Jian's eyes narrowed and an ominous feeling rose in his heart. In our Thunder Knife sect, the strongest mid-Dharma adept is not me but Brother Yujing. In fact, when I fought with Brother Yujing, I could not last more than 3 moves. Qing Yinyang said. Now the huge outer sect arena was extremely quiet, and only the sound of Qing Yinyang and Hu Jian's conversation could be heard. As Qing Yinyang finished speaking, the entire arena fell into a dead silence. After the dead silence, there was an uproar. This core disciple of the Thunder Knife sect is not the strongest mid-Dharma adept in the Thunder Knife sect? She said, the strongest mid-Dharma adept of the Thunder Knife sect fought with her, and she could not last more than 3 moves? Is that true? Isn't that too much? If what she said is true, then the Thunder Knife sect really came prepared this time. They're trying to trick the Lightning Sword sect. The group of elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect, whether they were from the outer sect, the inner sect, or the Lightning Peak, all had ugly expressions on their faces. Is what you said true? Hu Jian asked with an ugly expression on his face. If you don't believe me, you can recover your inner yuan and experience Brother Yujing's power. Qing Yinyang shook her head and said. Almost as soon as Qing Yinyang finished speaking, the young man in black behind the Thunder Knife sect leader, Luo Yuanxiu, had already transformed into a bolt of black lightning and shot through the air. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Qing Yinyang. Looking at Hu Jian, his eyes flashed with contempt and disdain, and he said coldly, I'll wait for you to recover. End of this chapter. Chapter 250. Han Yujing. Hu Jian looked at Han Yujing fearfully, then sat down cross-legged and took out spirit stones to recover his inner yuan. This time he had used up more inner yuan and it took longer for him to recover. It took him half an hour to recover. While he was recuperating, everyone from the Lightning Sword sect knew that the disciple from the Thunder Knife sect was called Han Yuzheng. He was the rare genius of the Tailao planet of the Thunder Knife sect. He was only 24 years old, but he was already a mid-Dharma adept. A 24-year-old mid-Dharma adept, he must have spent all his time training, right? How strong can his Dharma be? Many people of the Lightning Sword sect were skeptical. Of course, there were more people who were calm. This Han Yuzheng actually dared to fight at this time. This means that his ability is probably no less than Qing Yenyang's. Qing Yenyang just said that she won't last more than 3 moves against Han Yuzheng. My god. If what Qing Yenyang said is true, how can a mid-Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect be a match for Han Yuzheng? Seeing Hu Jian recover to his peak and face off against Han Yuzheng, the people of the Lightning Sword sect could not help but feel their hearts in their mouths. As for the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, and most of the senior members of the Lightning Sword sect, they all sighed silently, thinking that Hu Jian would not be a match for Han Yuzheng. Next, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Hu Jian made the first move. He made the first move and performed perfectly, but even so Hu Jian still lost. Han Yuzheng parried Hu Jian's attack with one move, then countered with another, putting Hu Jian at a disadvantage and putting him in a dangerous position. The third move sent Hu Jian flying. As fresh blood spurted from his mouth, Hu Jian was sent flying. When he landed, he was half kneeling on the ground because of his severe injuries. Unlike Hu Jian, who was in a sorry state, Han Yuzheng stood low in the air, and a giant umbrella Dharma rose from his body. The giant umbrella was now open and spinning continuously. Around the surface of the umbrella, the ends of each rib looked unusually sharp even though it was only in the Dharma form. The giant umbrella Dharma form spun in a perfect posture, as if there were no flaws. Han Yuzheng stood in the air like a high and mighty emperor. His eyes were indifferent as he looked down at Hu Jian, who was half kneeling on the ground, as if he was looking down at a lowly ant. There was dead silence. After a while the crowd came back to their senses. The large outer sect martial arts practice field was filled with the sound of people sucking in cold air. Oh my god. Is he really only 24 years old? To be able to reach the mid-Dharma stage at the age of 24 is already a miracle. But the problem is, his Dharma power is so powerful. Hu Jian is a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. He's 37 years old this year, and he's the publicly acknowledged #1 mid-Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect. Against Han Yuzheng he couldn't even last 3 moves. That core disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Qing Yenyang, did not lie. Too strong. Such a person not just in the Lightning Sword sect, but even in the other top sects of the Hengliu galaxy, I'm afraid there are no mid-Dharma adepts who are a match for him. Not just the top sects, even in the 2 transcendental forces of the Hengliu galaxy, there may not be any mid-Dharma adepts who are a match for him. His strength is too heaven-defying. At this moment the people of the Lightning Sword sect did not feel despair. Although there was a slight sense of loss, they felt that this was only natural. It was not shameful for the Lightning Sword sect to lose in a sparring match like this. The Thunder Knife sect had taken in this so-called martial arts genius of the Tailao planet, and he could not be judged by normal standards. It was normal for the Lightning Sword sect to not have anyone of the same level of practice as him. Sect leader Luo, your disciple's Dharma power is already comparable to most ultimate Dharma adepts. Yu Yuqing looked deeply at Luo Yuanxiu and said. In this sparring match, he accepted his loss wholeheartedly. If he had to blame someone, he could only blame himself for underestimating his opponent's determination to trample on the Lightning Sword sect. Haha, Luo Yuanxiu laughed. Sect leader you flatter me. Just so. Sect leader your Lightning Sword sect has a strong foundation, not something the Thunder Knife sect can compare to. I think the Lightning Sword sect must have hidden even more outstanding mid-Dharma adepts. Luo Yuanxiu looked very sincere. Sect leader you don't have to care about my reputation or the Thunder Knife sects. Although we're guests, we can accept failure. You call out the most outstanding mid-Dharma adept of the Lightning Sword sect to spar with my disciple. You don't have to be afraid of hurting him. Who doesn't have some setbacks when they are young? Don't you think so? As Luo Yuanxiu spoke, his lips curled into a mocking smile. It was obvious that he was mocking Yu Yuqing. The Lightning Sword sect did not have a mid-Dharma adept who could stand shoulder to shoulder with his disciple, Han Yuzheng. Luo Yuanxiu's words infuriated the valley masters of the 4 valleys. Many of the inner sect disciples present also had a change of expression. Even sect leader Yu Yuqing, although he maintained a smile on his face, it was obvious that his smile had diminished significantly. Sect leader Luo Hujian is already the only mid-Dharma core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. However, even though Yu Yuqing had said this, Luo Yuanxiu did not intend to let him off. Sect leader Yu, don't play dumb with me, we both understand. Don't think that I don't know. The mid-Dharma adept you are hiding may not be a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Just like my disciple Han Yujing, he is also not a core disciple of the Thunder Knife sect. Han Yujing had not been in the Thunder Knife sect for long, and he had immediately become a disciple of sect leader Luo Yuanxiu. Whether or not he was a core disciple was no longer important. However, in the eyes of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing was a core disciple. Even if he had not participated in the core disciple assessment, let alone passed it. Sect leader Luo, enough is enough. Luo Yuanxiu's further mockery made Yu Yuqing a little angry. If he continued to be friendly, who knew what Luo Yuanxiu would do next? Ah, sect leader Yu, I didn't do anything? Why do you look so pale? Luo Yuanxiu's smile became even more radiant. At the same time, the disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, who had defeated Hu Jian, retracted his gaze from Hu Jian and scanned his surroundings. He asked calmly, does the Lightning Sword sect have any mid-Dharma adepts who wish to spar with me? Han Yujing's question caused the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect to fall into a dead silence. The Hu family had been defeated so badly. Who else would dare to go up? Furthermore, only mid-Dharma adepts were allowed to go up. Han Yujing continued, I am Han Yujing, 24 years old this year. How about this? There is no need to restrict the level of practice of the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect. In the Lightning Sword sect, anyone under the age of 30, regardless of their level of practice, can come up and spar with me. As long as you can win, the Thunder Knife sect will be considered the winner of this spar between the Lightning Sword sect and the Lightning Sword sect. This is a very good opportunity to stand out, don't miss it. As he said this, the corner of Han Yujing's mouth also turned up in a slight mocking smile. There were no restrictions on the level of practice of people under the age of 30, and in the Lightning Sword sect, there was no one above the late Dharma stage. This was something he had heard from his master long ago. Hearing Han Yujing's words, the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect naturally cursed him in their hearts. This Han Yujing sure made it sound nice. Within the Lightning Sword sect, the only people under the age of 30 who could fight were a few mid-Dharma adepts, and those people's abilities were far inferior to Hu Jian's. Even Hu Jian had been defeated by Han Yujing, and if those few mid-Dharma adepts went up, they would only end up worse. Seeing that the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect did not move for a long time, Han Yujing's eyes narrowed, and the mocking smile on his lips deepened. What? Is there no one else in the Lightning Sword sect? As soon as Han Yujing said this, not only did the group of Lightning Sword sect disciples fly into a rage, even the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing's face darkened slightly. Provocation. A blatant provocation. But no one could say anything about it. Could they still say to Han Yujing, you, a 24-year-old disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, if you have the guts to spar with the people of the Lightning Sword sect who are above the late Dharma stage? You, a mid-Dharma adept of the Thunder Knife sect, if you have the guts to spar with the adepts of the Lightning Sword sect who are above the late Dharma stage? These words at most could only be said in their hearts, but they could not say them out loud. Once such words were spoken, it would be equivalent to the Lightning Sword sect admitting defeat. Sect leader Yu, if you insist on hiding it, then we, the Thunder Knife sect, have no choice but to accept the victory of this spar. Luo Yuanxiu said to Yu Yuqing with a smile. This time, before Yu Yuqing could speak, the Autumn Valley head He Jin had already said to Yu Yuqing, Sect leader, since sect leader Luo has already said so, there is no need for the Lightning Sword sect to hide it anymore. Yu Yuqing, who had been angered by Luo Yuanxiu to the point of bursting his veins, was stunned when he heard He Jin's words. He looked at He Jin with a puzzled expression. Although He Jin's level of practice was not the highest among the 4 valley heads of the inner sect, he was definitely the calmest. What was the reason for the usually calm Autumn Valley head to say something like this? Dong Huang. Very quickly as He Jin spoke, Yu Yuqing had his answer. The moment He Jin spoke, Zhou Dong Huang, who had been resting with his eyes closed, immediately opened his eyes and flew out like a bolt of white lightning. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in the arena and looked coldly at the arrogant young man in black who had a mocking smile on his face. End of this chapter. Chapter 251. A young man dressed in clothes whiter than snow stood in the air, facing the young man dressed in black. From afar it was a stark contrast. You're also a mid-Dharma adept of the Lightning Sword sect? The young man in black, Han Yujing, looked at the young man in white and raised an eyebrow. His eyes narrowed and the mocking smile on his face froze. Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang lifted his eyelids lazily and glanced at Han Yujing as he spoke unhurriedly. Autumn Valley disciple? Han Yujing was stunned for a moment, and then the mocking smile on his face blossomed again. Didn't you see that the core disciples of the Lightning Sword sect were defeated by me? You're just an inner disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Do you really think you're a match for me? As he spoke, the mocking smile on Han Yujing's face grew wider, and a look of disdain flashed across his eyes. At the same time, many people of the Lightning Sword sect heard Zhou Donghuang's self-introduction and were stunned for a moment before they finally reacted. It's the Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang. The Zhou Donghuang who just entered the early Dharma stage and defeated the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Can. This Zhou Donghuang just entered the early Dharma stage a few months ago. Could he have already entered the mid-Dharma stage? Impossible. How could he jump from the ultimate primal core stage to the mid-Dharma stage in just a few short months? Could it be that he wants to fight with Han Yujing of the Thunder Knife sect as an early Dharma adept? Come to think of it, this Zhou Donghuang is not older than Han Yujing. Han Yujing naturally heard the discussions of the people of the Lightning Sword sect. Just entered the early Dharma stage a few months ago? Defeated the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Can? The Lightning Sword sect disciple who was defeated by Xie Yun? Han Yujing remembered that the first inner disciple of the Thunder Knife sect to fight today had fought with a disciple of the Lightning Sword sect named Lian Can, and defeated him. For a moment, the sneer on his face was so thick that it couldn't be any thicker. Valley head he. High up in the sky, Luo Yuanqiu looked at He Jin. Could it be that this disciple of the Autumn Valley is stronger than Hu Jian? He doesn't look any older than my disciple, Han Yujing. As soon as Luo Yuanqiu finished speaking, He Jin smiled faintly and said, he's only 24 years old this year. Come to think of it, he's the same age as your disciple, sect leader Luo. Same age? Interesting. Luo Yuanqiu was taken aback for a moment, and then he laughed as a trace of contempt flashed in the depths of his eyes. A 24-year-old inner sect disciple of the Lightning Sword sect dared to challenge Luo Yuanqiu's prized disciple, Han Yujing? He was simply asking to be humiliated. In Luo Yuanqiu's opinion, not to mention the Tailao planet, even in the entire Honglio galaxy, he might not be able to find a person of the same age as Han Yujing who was a match for him. Junior brother he. As Lian Can stared at Zhou Donghuang suspiciously, Lian Kun approached He Jin and whispered, could it be that this Zhou Donghuang of the Autumn Valley has broken through to the mid-Dharma stage? Lian Kun knew how powerful Zhou Donghuang was. He had only just broken through to the early Dharma stage, but he was already able to defeat his godson and personal disciple, Lian Can. When Lian Can had been at the early Dharma stage, there was basically no one in the Summer Valley who was stronger than him. However, in front of Zhou Donghuang, he had taken the initiative and still lost miserably. From then on, Lian Kun felt that Zhou Donghuang was not as simple as he seemed. Today, even though the Lightning Sword sect's core disciple, Hu Jian, had been defeated by Han Yujing, He Jin still allowed Zhou Donghuang to enter the arena. What did this mean? He Jin had confidence in Zhou Donghuang. Because of this, he had asked He Jin if Zhou Donghuang had already entered the mid-Dharma stage. Although he did not think it was possible, he could not help but ask. This was because he felt that although Zhou Donghuang had displayed powerful abilities when he was at the early Dharma stage, he was at most stronger than an average mid-Dharma adept. Compared to a peak mid-Dharma adept like Han Yujing, he was definitely no match for him. Based on the abilities that Han Yujing had displayed so far, even if he were to face an average late Dharma adept, he might still be able to put up a fight. Senior brother Lian, if you keep watching, won't you find out? Faced with Lian Kuan's question, He Jin did not answer directly. He only smiled mysteriously, causing Lian Kun to turn his attention back to the arena. You're Zhou Donghuang, right? Han Yujing looked at Zhou Donghuang, a mocking smile on his lips. If you want to fight me, then show your Dharma power first. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to do so. It had to be said that Han Yujing was very arrogant. However, even the people of the Lightning Sword sect who were present felt that he had the right to be arrogant. After all, even the only mid-Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect could not withstand more than 3 blows from him. Faced with the arrogant Han Yujing, Zhou Donghuang's expression did not change. However, as soon as he opened his mouth, Han Yujing's expression changed completely. If not for the Valley Head's invitation, I, Zhou Donghuang, would not be interested in standing out to teach a lesson to a frog in a well like you. These were Zhou Donghuang's words. You called me a frog in a well? The disdain in Han Yuzhing's eyes was replaced by a cold glint. When he looked at Zhou Donghuang again, his face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. The mocking smile on his lips had also turned into a vicious grin. A mid-Dharma adept, and with that little power of yours, you're acting like you're invincible. If you're not a frog in a well, then what are you? Zhou Donghuang said, shaking his head. From beginning to end, his tone was as calm as before, and there was no discernible emotion in it. In contrast to Zhou Donghuang's calmness, Han Yuzhing was already furious. Whoosh! Han Yuzhing's giant umbrella Dharma power also appeared at the right time. The 3-meter-tall giant umbrella Dharma power spun continuously above his head. From every angle, it looked perfect and harmonious as if there were no flaws. Of course, this was in the eyes of others. In Zhou Donghuang's eyes, although there were not many flaws in Han Yuzhing's giant umbrella Dharma power, there were still two that were very fatal. One of them was fine as it was hidden on the inside, but the other was on the outside. Even if Han Yuzhing wanted to hide it, he could not. I'm convinced. This Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang, let's not talk about power, but in terms of arrogance, Han Yuzhing can't even compare to him. I originally thought that Han Yuzhing was arrogant enough, but when he's arrogant, it's boundless. Most importantly, he can still maintain a straight face. In terms of arrogance, Han Yuzhing is really a frog in a well in front of him. Although there were not many people from the Lightning Sword sect present who thought that Zhou Donghuang was a match for Han Yuzhing, now that Zhou Donghuang was suppressing Han Yuzhing in terms of aura, it was still a great relief to them. Zhou Donghuang, you said that I'm a frog in a well? Han Yuzhing stared coldly at Zhou Donghuang, and the 3-meter-tall giant umbrella Dharma power spun even faster at this moment. Then I'd like to see how much you, an inner sect disciple of the Lightning Sword sect who claims that I'm a frog in a well, have. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Yuzhing moved. His entire body was carried by the giant umbrella Dharma power as it spun and flew out. Not only was his attacking stance aggressive, but his defensive stance was also airtight. Bus, 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 bus. The giant umbrella dermic idol spun in the air like a spiral knife, emitting a series of screeching sounds. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Han Yuzhing was the first to strike. Furthermore, Han Yuzhing had attacked in a fit of rage. There was no way he would hold back. I said you're a frog at the bottom of a well. You're not convinced? Faced with the menacing Han Yuzhing, Zhou Donghuang's expression did not change. As he spoke, the giant tiger Dharma power appeared. The king of all beasts looked down on everyone. Today, if you can receive one of my palm strikes, it will be considered your victory. When Zhou Donghuang spoke again, not only did his words stun everyone present, but the changes to his Dharma power also shocked everyone. Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power descended in the blink of an eye and attached itself to his body, causing his body to seem to be burning with a blazing inner yuan flame. In this spiritual essence flame, one could vaguely see some of the characteristics of the giant tiger Dharma power, such as the tiger's head, the tiger's body, and the tiger's tail. At this moment, the Dharma power and Zhou Donghuang's body fused together perfectly. Dharma power possession? And this scene fell into the eyes of those present, and they immediately jumped in fright. Dharma power possession was something that many ultimate Dharma adepts could not achieve before they entered the primordial soul stage. In order to achieve Dharma power possession, one must not only train the Dharma power to the point of perfection, but also have to have a deep understanding of the Dharma power and be able to control the power of the Dharma power like an extension of one's own arm. Whoosh! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, facing the menacing Han Yuzhing with the giant umbrella Dharma power, Zhou Donghuang's body moved, and he pounced like a ferocious tiger descending the mountain. As his palm landed, the shadow of the Dharma power in the shape of a tiger's claw flashed around his palm, faintly discernible. Bang! Accompanied by a loud sound, Zhou Donghuang's palm landed on the side of Han Yuzhing's giant umbrella Dharma power, accurately hitting one of its fatal flaws. This flaw was something that Han Yuzhing had been covering up all this time. The giant umbrella Dharma power kept spinning, and to a certain extent, it was to cover up this exposed flaw. However, even as the giant umbrella Dharma power spun rapidly, Zhou Donghuang's palm landed, accurately hitting this flaw. With the flaw hit, the giant umbrella Dharma power could not withstand the power of Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power, and it was instantly destroyed. At the same time, Han Yuzhing's body trembled as he suffered the backlash of inner yuan. His face turned red and he resisted the urge to vomit blood. Bang. However, as Zhou Donghuang's palm continued to land, brushing past his shoulder, the sudden pressure caused him to open his mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood. Han Yujing's robe was torn from the shoulder that Zhou Donghuang's palm had brushed past, revealing his arm. On it, one could vaguely see a scalding red wound, and streams of blood flowed from it, dazzling the eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 252. And this was Zhou Donghuang showing mercy. Otherwise, Zhou Donghuang's palm could have landed on Han Yujing's head and killed him. Even if he did not kill him, he could have landed on his shoulder and crippled him. Whoosh. As Zhou Donghuang's palm brushed past Han Yujing's arm, Han Yujing was like a bird startled by the mere twang of a bough. He hurriedly activated the remaining inner yuan in his Dharma power and retreated to avoid the attack. Zhou Donghuang did not chase after him. He only stood where he was and looked at him calmly. Are you convinced now? At this time, Han Yujing had completely recovered from his shock. Thinking back to what had just happened, he broke out in a cold sweat. He knew that his opponent had shown him mercy. Otherwise, he would have been crippled even if he did not die. Han Yujing sucked in a breath of cold air and glared at Zhou Donghuang. His expression was dark as he said coldly, "One day I will defeat you." To Han Yujing he was only 24 years old. Although the youth in front of him looked younger than him, he could not rule out the possibility that he was actually much older than him. Is that so? Faced with Han Yujing's threat, Zhou Donghuang only smiled lightly. Then I'll wait and see. At this moment, the onlookers finally recovered from the shock one after another. He won. Zhou Donghuang really defeated the Thunder Knife sect disciple Han Yujing with just one move? My god. This ability, isn't it too unbelievable? He seemed to have used the Dharma body integration technique just now. As far as I know, in the current generation of the Tai Lao planet, even among the ultimate Dharma adepts, there are very few who can master the Dharma body integration technique, right? I never thought that the Lightning Sword sect would have such a genius hidden away. The people of the Lightning Sword sect had originally thought that the Lightning Sword sect would lose to the Thunder Knife sect in today's sparring match. After all, even the Lightning Sword sect's only mid-Dharma core disciple had been defeated. They did not expect that at the last moment, Zhou Donghuang would come out and defeat the Thunder Knife sect's strongest mid-Dharma adept, Han Yujing, with just one move. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell what had happened just now. Zhou Donghuang had already shown mercy. Otherwise, Han Yujing would have been crippled if not dead. Sect leader Luo, I didn't expect you to know that the Lightning Sword sect has a mid-Dharma adept who is even stronger than Hu Jian. Where did you get this information from? He Jin was not surprised to see Zhou Donghuang defeat Han Yujing in one move. He even looked at the Thunder Knife sect leader Luo Yuanxiu and asked with a mocking smile. The smile on Luo Yuanxiu's face, which was always full of smiles, suddenly froze. He looked a little awkward. After a while, he looked deeply at He Jin, then his gaze landed on the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing. Sect leader Yu, the Thunder Knife sect has lost this battle. I really did not expect the Lightning Sword sect to have so many hidden talents. Farewell. With that, Luo Yuanxiu did not even bother with pleasantries. He took his leave and left with the elders of the Thunder Knife sect, as well as Han Yujing and a few other disciples. Seeing Luo Yuanxiu leave with his people, the people of the Lightning Sword sect felt a sense of pride. When the figures of Luo Yuanxiu and his people disappeared from sight, the atmosphere of the scene became lively again. Haha. The Thunder Knife sect leader must have never imagined that the battle initiated by the Thunder Knife sect would end up like this. I thought we had lost just now. After all, even Hu Jian was defeated. Me too. I didn't expect the Autumn Valley to have a trump card like Zhou Donghuang. When Zhou Donghuang attacked, he displayed a Dharma power that was even more perfect than Han Yujing's Dharma power, and he even used the Dharmic possession technique to defeat Han Yujing in one move. Even the only mid-Dharma core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, Hu Jian, could not last more than 3 moves against Han Yujing. Han Yujing was defeated by Zhou Donghuang in one move. From now on, the number 1 mid-Dharma adept of the Lightning Sword sect will no longer be Hu Jian, but Zhou Donghuang. A few months ago, when Zhou Donghuang went to the Summer Valley and defeated the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Ken, he had only gained a small reputation in the Lightning Sword sect. Now that he had helped the Lightning Sword sect win this battle against the Thunder Knife sect, his name had truly risen to fame, and his name was known throughout the entire Lightning Sword sect. Today he had helped the Lightning Sword sect vent its anger. Most of the people of the Lightning Sword sect were indebted to Zhou Donghuang for this matter. Ha! After the people of the Thunder Knife sect had left, the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing could not help but laugh loudly. Awesome! Awesome! That Luo Yuanxiu, didn't he come all the way to the Lightning Sword sect to show off his genius disciple, Han Yuzheng? And in the end? He was defeated in one move by an inner disciple of the Lightning Sword sect of the same age. Now, he must be regretting it so much that his intestines are green. Yu Yuqing laughed as he looked at He Jin. He Jin, your disciple Zhou Donghuang, deserves the credit for what happened today. From today onwards, he will be a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. As soon as Yu Yuqing said this, Lian Kan, who was standing behind the Summer Valley head Lian Kuan, had a look of envy in his eyes. At the same time, his face was full of bitterness. He had originally thought that his breakthrough to the mid-Dharma stage, coupled with the rapid improvement of his Dharma power, would be enough to take revenge on Zhou Donghuang. However, he did not expect that Zhou Donghuang had also entered the mid-Dharma stage, and the power that he had displayed was so strong that even late Dharma adepts would not be able to match him, let alone mid-Dharma adepts of the same level. The power of the Thunder Knife sect disciple Han Yuzheng was obvious to all. Even late Dharma adepts would not dare say that they could defeat him in one move. But Zhou Donghuang had done it. At this moment, Lian Kan felt the chasm between him and Zhou Donghuang, and this gap was enough to make him despair. Junior brother your Autumn Valley really hid your strength well. The Spring Valley head Lu Fengao looked at He Jin, his face full of admiration. I never thought that in the Lightning Sword sect, there would be a mid-Dharma adept of this level. Furthermore, you said that he is only 24 years old this year? As soon as Lu Fengao said this, the gazes of the surrounding crowd, with the exception of He Mingxi, all fell on He Jin. He Jin smiled and nodded. At that moment the crowd could not help but gasp. The Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan, sighed and said, Junior brother this time your Autumn Valley has really picked up a treasure. Senior brother can you tell me where did you find this Zhou Donghuang? I would like to try my luck too. The Winter Valley head Lung Chenxiu had a serious look on his face and he did not seem to be joking. Enjoying the attention of the crowd, He Jin smiled brightly. This was the first time that He Jin had been so proud in front of these people. At the same time, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang returned to the sky and returned to He Mingxi's side. Third senior sister, now that this is over, shall we go back? Little junior brother, the sect leader just said that from today onwards, you are a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. You can go to the Lightning Peak to train. He Mingxi said with a smile. Although she knew that Zhou Donghuang did not care whether he could become a core disciple or not and whether he could go to the Lightning Peak to train, she was still happy for him. After all, in the past only she, De Zhuang, and her father knew that this little brother of hers was extraordinary. This time, he had gained the approval of the sect leader, which was equivalent to gaining the approval of the entire Lightning Sword sect. Zhou Donghuang. At that moment, Yu Yuqing looked at Zhou Donghuang with a kind smile on his face. Today it is all thanks to you that the Lightning Sword sect has been saved. With your talent, it is more than enough for you to become a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Allowing you to become a core disciple is not a reward for you. Tell me, what reward do you want? Yu Yuqing asked. Hearing Yu Yuqing's words, Zhou Donghuang's eyes lit up. As the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing's efficiency in collecting the rare herbs that he wanted would definitely be higher than He Jin, the Autumn Valley head. Now that there was such a good opportunity, how could he miss it? Thinking of this, Zhou Donghuang replied bluntly, Sect leader, I want some rare herbs. To Zhou Donghuang, the most important thing now was to quickly increase his level of practice. Now, not to mention the entire Hengliu galaxy, even on the Tailao planet or even within the Lightning Sword sect, his current ability was not even worth mentioning. Even with his current ability in the entire Hengliu galaxy, he did not need to fear any adept below the ultimate Dharma stage. However, if it was an adept above the ultimate Dharma stage with his current ability, it would be difficult for him to deal with them. After the group of people from the Thunder Knife sect left the Lightning Sword sect under the leadership of sect leader Luo Yuanxiu, the atmosphere was somewhat gloomy and suffocating. Yuzheng. In the end, it was the sect leader Luo Yuanxiu who broke the gloomy and suffocating atmosphere. A moment of success or failure does not determine anything. Master, I know that. Han Yuzheng nodded, his eyes shining brightly. Just as I said to Zhou Donghuang just now, one day I will defeat him. This year I am only 24 years old. When he was 24 he might not have had the ability that I have now. Han Yujing said. Hearing Han Yujing's words, Luo Yuanqiu was stunned at first, then smiled bitterly and said, Yujing, I forgot to tell you, that Zhou Donghuang is the same as you this year, 24 years old. As soon as Luo Yuanqiu said this, Han Yujing's expression changed slightly, and the rest of the people from the Thunder Knife sect all looked shocked and incredulous. Even so, it is not impossible for you to surpass him in the future. I am telling you this in the hopes that it will give you more pressure. More pressure, more motivation. Luo Yuanqiu patted Han Yujing on the shoulder and said, Master has confidence in you. Hearing this, the light that had disappeared not long ago not only reappeared in Han Yujing's eyes, but it also became even more brilliant, making his eyes look like the stars in the night sky. End of this chapter. Chapter 253. After defeating Han Yujing of the Thunder Knife sect in one blow, Zhou Donghuang's reputation in the Lightning Sword sect skyrocketed. When the people of the Lightning Sword sect found out that Zhou Donghuang was only 24 years old, the same age as Han Yujing, they could not help but be shocked. Han Yujing, the once-in-a-century martial arts genius of the Tailao planet? In front of junior brother Donghuang he's nothing. Exactly. He's also only 24 years old. Look at Zhou Donghuang, a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, and then look at him. How embarrassing. Zhou Donghuang did not care about his sudden rise to fame in the Lightning Sword sect. In his previous life he had been in an even bigger situation. This was nothing to him and he did not feel anything special about it. His life was still the same as it had been in the past, refining pills and practicing. What was worth mentioning was that, because of the promise made by the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, that day Zhou Donghuang had managed to gather a batch of medicinal herbs from the Lightning Sword sect that were difficult for He Jin to collect. With the pills refined from these medicinal herbs, not only did his cultivation advance by leaps and bounds, but his third senior sister's cultivation also advanced by leaps and bounds. Although the Lightning Sword sect leader Yu Yuqing had given Zhou Donghuang special permission to become a core disciple and train at the Lightning Peak, Zhou Donghuang had never set foot there before. To Zhou Donghuang, there was no difference between practicing in the Autumn Valley and at the Lightning Peak. Both were in the Lightning Sword sect, and he could not be bothered to move. In the Autumn Valley there were many things that were more convenient. At least, the support and help that the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, gave him was something that no one in the Lightning Sword sect could give him. Now, He Jin often kept an eye on Zhou Donghuang's residence. As soon as Zhou Donghuang stepped out of his room, he would immediately look for him to chat. All of this was because He Jin had once asked Zhou Donghuang a question about practice while they were chatting. After he had asked the question he regretted it immediately. How could a Dharma adept like Zhou Donghuang solve a problem that was an ultimate primordial soul adept's problem? However, Zhou Donghuang's perfect answer had enlightened him, and he was now getting closer and closer to the divine transformation stage. Among the 4 valley heads of the inner sect, He Jin, might be the first to enter the divine transformation stage. He Jin had thought of this more than once. It was also from that time onwards that He Jin often sought out Zhou Donghuang to ask him questions about training, just like a humble student who was listening to a lecture. Every time He Jin would gain something. As such, when He Jin saw Zhou Donghuang now, he could not help but show some respect in his eyes, as if he was looking at his own teacher. Valley Head, the Lightning Sword sect only has one divine transformation adept? Zhou Donghuang asked He Jin. On the surface, there's only the sect master. He Jin smiled and said, however, there's another person behind this. It's just that very few people know about this person's existence. In many people's eyes, he had already left the Lightning Sword sect and the Honglio galaxy many years ago to explore other galaxies. Zhou Donghuang was enlightened. He naturally knew that there were countless legacies like the Lightning Sword sect in the boundless universe. If this kind of orthodoxy was powerful enough to be called supreme in a star region, it meant that the star region it was in had an extremely limited cultivation environment and cultivation resources, and the scale was too small. Under such circumstances, many adepts who wanted to reach a higher level or even break the shackles of life would choose to leave the galaxy where their sect was located and head to a wider, more fertile galaxy. They would either die in another galaxy, or they would gain some success in another galaxy and gain a foothold before returning to bring their loved ones over. As time passed, they gradually lost contact with their original sections. There were actually many divine transformation adepts who had left the Lightning Sword sect and left the Honglio galaxy, but very few had returned. After all, the outside world was full of unknowns, and no one knew what they would encounter once they left. Some of them might have died not long after they left the Hunglio galaxy. Before they left, they also knew that there was a risk. However, they still chose to do so because they knew that if they continued to stay in the Hunglio galaxy, their achievements would be limited. They had to leave the galaxy to have any hope of improving. Not to mention others, just Zhou Donghuang. Why did Zhou Donghuang want to leave the Ziyun planet and the Kaiyuan galaxy? It was because the Ziyun planet and the Kaiyuan galaxy were too small, and the training resources were limited. It was not enough for him to grow quickly. In fact, if he had stayed on the Ziyun planet, even if Zhou Donghuang had 1,000 years worth of memories from his previous life, he would at most be stuck at the primordial soul stage in this life. That person should be stronger than the sect leader? Zhou Donghuang asked. Yes. He Jin nodded and his eyes were filled with passion. The sect leader is at the mid-divine transformation stage. The further one progressed in martial arts, the more difficult it became. Before receiving the Thousand-Star Sword technique, which was said to be one of the best techniques in the universe, He Jin had doubted himself more than once. Would he be able to enter the divine transformation stage in his lifetime? When he had completely switched to the Thousand-Star Sword technique, his abilities had increased, and his level of practice had increased so quickly that he felt that the divine transformation stage was not far away. In fact, if he was given enough time, the mid-divine transformation stage, late divine transformation stage and ultimate divine transformation stage, which he didn't even dare to dream about, would no longer be a dream. Mid-divine transformation stage? Zhou Donghuang nodded. In his previous life he had discussed with third senior sister He Mingxi about the level of the strongest adepts in the Hunglio galaxy, so he had a certain understanding of the situation in the Hunglio galaxy. The strongest adepts in the Hunglio galaxy were basically at the mid-divine transformation stage. No matter how strong they were, it was difficult for them to appear in the Hunglio galaxy. Of course, even if it was difficult, it was not impossible. Even in the current generation of the Hunglio galaxy, there might be adepts at the late divine transformation stage, but they were few and far between. Of course, this was only Zhou Donghuang's guess. However, in his previous life, according to third senior sister He Mingxi, she had never heard of any adepts above the late divine transformation stage in the Hunglio galaxy. Valley leader, I'm not sure when exactly the crisis that the Lightning Sword sect faced was. Zhou Donghuang looked at He Jin and took the initiative to bring this up. In my dream, third senior sister only said that not long after she entered the late Dharma stage, the Lightning Sword sect faced a crisis. However, I can't be sure when she entered the late Dharma stage. Now, third senior sister has switched to the Thousand-Star Sword technique, and with the help of the core medicine that I have refined, her training speed is naturally much faster than before. When she enters the primordial soul stage, the crisis that the Lightning Sword sect faced probably hasn't even happened yet. Zhou Donghuang said. There should still be some time. I just hope that, when that time comes, I will have the ability to protect the sect. He Jin's expression was somewhat solemn. After all, in Zhou Donghuang's dream, he was one of the members who had died in the battle. Zhou Donghuang smiled bitterly. Originally, the best solution would have been for He Jin and his daughter to leave the Lightning Sword sect. That way they would naturally be able to avoid the crisis. After all, they were not the cause of the crisis. However, after spending some time together, Zhou Donghuang understood that He Jin would not easily abandon the Lightning Sword sect. Especially after switching to the Thousand-Star Sword technique, He Jin would definitely try to use his own strength to protect the Lightning Sword sect. Forget it, I won't think too much about it. I'll just deal with whatever comes my way. Zhou Donghuang had already prepared himself for the worst. At most, he would think of another way to force He Jin and his daughter to leave with him. He would then come back for revenge in the future. Even without my help, third senior sister will definitely be able to enter the mid-Dharma stage by the end of this year. With her talent and the training resources provided by the Valley Head, it will take her at most 10 years to reach the late Dharma stage if she trains normally. That's not to say that there were any changes. If there were any changes such as obtaining a core medicine or spirit fruit that could help her level up quickly, it would definitely not take more than 10 years. Zhou Donghuang wanted to calculate what had happened to the Lightning Sword sect, but he realized that he could not do so at all. There were too many variables in this period of time. There was no way to calculate. If I had known, I would have gone back 1,000 years and asked third senior sister who destroyed the Lightning Sword sect. At that time, third senior sister only told me that it was destroyed by a force stronger than the Lightning Sword sect, and that the culprit was the Spring Valley Head. As he thought of this, Zhou Donghuang felt a little regretful. Of course, he quickly suppressed this thought because he knew that regret was useless. In his previous life he would never have thought that he would one day go back 1,000 years and start all over again. Should I ask the Spring Valley head to leave the Lightning Sword sect? As soon as this thought arose, Zhou Donghuang suppressed it because it was not realistic. Not everyone could be like He Jin and his daughter and accompany him in his madness. Of course, He Mingxi accompanied him in his madness because he knew some secrets about her that only she knew. As for He Jin accompanying him, it was because he had taken out the Thousand-Star Sword technique. He could not possibly hand over the Thousand-Star Sword technique to the Lightning Sword sect leader and ask him to cooperate with him to expel the Spring Valley head from the Lightning Sword sect. Could he? That was not realistic. Furthermore, he did not trust the Lightning Sword sect leader because he did not know what kind of person he was. He could not risk putting his life in the hands of the Lightning Sword sect leader. In fact, if He Jin insisted on doing so, he would force third senior sister to leave the Lightning Sword sect and find another place to live. Of course, this was just a hypothetical situation. Based on He Jin's character, as long as Zhou Donghuang did not agree, even if He Jin had such thoughts, he would not act on them. Unknowingly, it has been more than a year since I left the Ziyun planet. After He Jin left, Zhou Donghuang sat at the stone table and looked at the flowers and grass in the courtyard. He sighed softly and many figures flashed through his mind. His mother Lin Lan, his sister Yun Lu, Yang Zishi, Renjiape Fu, and the others. Calculating the time, it was now November 1235 of the Ziyun era, and he had left the Ziyun planet in September 1234 of the Ziyun era. End of this chapter. Chapter 254. Third senior sister, how is the matter that I asked you to look into? Zhou Donghuang had asked He Mingxi to look into Luo Qinghan's whereabouts after she had returned from the Ziyun planet. He wanted to know which sect in the Honglio galaxy Luo Qinghan had joined. Luo Qinghan was different from him. He had 1,000 years of memories from his past life, so no matter where he went, he was like a fish in water. Luo Qinghan could only be considered a person from a small place in the Honglio galaxy. In the Honglio galaxy, even if Luo Qinghan was talented, it was not easy for her to have a smooth journey. Now he already saw Luo Qinghan as his woman, so he naturally could not watch her take risks outside. It would be best for her to stay by his side so that he could maximize her safety. Of course, staying by his side would not only ensure Luo Qinghan's safety, but it would also ensure that Luo Qinghan's level of practice and ability would advance to the next level. Of course, other than asking He Mingxi to help investigate Luo Qinghan's whereabouts, Zhou Donghuang had also used the galaxy teleporter to go to the Tianxian planet of the Luoha galaxy to deliver some elixirs to the head of the Luo family, Luo Wuchen. When Luo Wuchen saw Zhou Donghuang again, he addressed Zhou Donghuang as son-in-law, even more warmly than his own father. Of course, as he delivered the elixirs to Luo Wuchen, he also asked Luo Wuchen and found out that Luo Qinghan had not returned to the Luo family since she had left 2 years ago. After telling Luo Wuchen that he was at the Lightning Sword sect on the Tailao planet of the Honglio galaxy, Zhou Donghuang left and instructed Luo Wuchen to inform him at the Lightning Sword sect if Luo Qinghan returned. It did not take long to travel between the Luo family and the Lightning Sword sect using the galaxy teleporter. Luo Wuchen agreed to Zhou Donghuang's instructions and said that when Luo Qinghan returned, he would inform Zhou Donghuang to go to the Luo family and arrange their marriage. Zhou Donghuang did not know why, but he felt an inexplicable sense of anticipation. There are a total of 3 top sects on the Tailao planet. However, whether it is the Lightning Sword sect, the Thunder Knife sect, or even the Shenyuan sect, I have asked people to find out who the Luo Qinghan you are talking about is. He Mingxi said, I've also sent people to investigate the planets around the Tailao star. There should be news in the near future. As for the planets further away, I've also asked my father to send people to investigate. It'll take some time before there's any news. Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Little junior brother, that Luo Qinghan from her name is a woman? He Mingxi asked. Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Who is she? He Mingxi looked at Zhou Donghuang again, this time with a hint of mockery. He Mingxi had thought that Zhou Donghuang would be embarrassed, but she realized that not only was Zhou Donghuang not embarrassed, he even said matter-of-factly, my woman. Zhou Donghuang's straightforwardness left He Mingxi at a loss for words. She could only say casually, don't worry, my father has already sent people to investigate. I'm sure we'll have news of her soon. Just as she finished speaking, as if she had thought of something, He Mingxi asked, De Zhuang, is he still training? Yes. Hearing He Mingxi mention De Zhuang, Zhou Donghuang's lips curled into a rare smile. De Zhuang was definitely the most hardworking person he had ever met in his life. After realizing that he had a chance to avenge the giant apes that had raised him, he had trained like a madman, working harder than anyone else. Even Zhou Donghuang could feel his determination to avenge those demonic apes. Hasn't he already broken through to the mid-Dharma stage? Why isn't he resting? He Mingxi was also shocked, because every time she had come, De Zhuang had been training, both before and after he had broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. Is this really okay? He Mingxi was a little worried. How could she not know what De Zhuang was thinking? De Zhuang had always wanted to avenge the giant apes that had raised him. In the past, the chances had been slim and De Zhuang had given up on himself. Now, the chance was right in front of him and De Zhuang was afraid of missing it, so he trained with all his might. Third senior sister, don't worry. Zhou Donghuang shook his head and said, most people who train like this will only get half the results with twice the effort, and it won't be of much use. But De Zhuang has the elixir that I have refined to help him train, so there won't be any problems. Zhou Donghuang was very clear about the elixir that he had refined. No matter how hard De Zhuang trained, it wouldn't affect his body at all. Yes. He Mingxi believed Zhou Donghuang's words. Ever since she had met this little brother, he had brought her too many surprises. Little brother, I'm going back to train too. Perhaps she had been provoked by De Zhuang's desperate training, but after chatting with Zhou Donghuang for a while, He Mingxi left. After He Mingxi left, Zhou Donghuang also prepared to return to his room to train. Zhou Donghuang. Before he could return to his room, Zhou Donghuang heard an enthusiastic voice from behind him. My lover is here. With her are a few of her junior sisters in the sect, and they're all very pretty. With your good looks and your martial arts talent, you'll definitely catch their eye. I'm a good friend, aren't I? Such a good thing I came to look for you immediately. The person who had come was the only son of the Spring Valley head, Lu Lang, a famous spoiled brat of the Lightning Sword sect. As for the lover he had mentioned, it was just a female disciple of a small sect near the Lightning Sword sect, and he changed his lover a few times a year. However, Zhou Donghuang did not even bother with Lu Lang and went back to his room to close the door. Lu Lang did not seem surprised by this. How boring. This guy doesn't seem to be interested in anything. What should I do to make friends with him? Lu Lang had a headache. Ever since Zhou Donghuang had defeated the disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, with one blow in the outer sect arena 2 months ago, Lu Lang had come to the Autumn Valley more frequently. Every time he came he would try something new. His goal was to strike up a conversation with Zhou Donghuang and even become friends with him. However, Zhou Donghuang completely ignored him. If it had been anyone else, they would have given Lu Lang some face on account of the fact that he was the only son of the Spring Valley head Lu Fenggu. However, Zhou Donghuang did not give him any face at all. It's still a little slow. The second Dharma power has only just entered the mid-Dharma stage. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, he used his inner vision to look at the green dragon Dharma power that had entered the mid-Dharma stage after the white tiger Dharma power. Zhou Donghuang sighed to himself. Of course, he also knew that this was almost the fastest speed of training. Even in those supreme sects and galaxies, with all sorts of resources for him to use, his progress would not be much faster than it was now. There was a limit to everything. Now, Zhou Donghuang's progress was already close to his current limit. If he increased it any further, both his internal meridians and his energy center would not be able to withstand it. The Ziji planet was also a planet in the Hunglio galaxy, and its richness was comparable to the Tailao planet where the Lightning Sword sect was located. The Tailao planet had 3 top sects, while the Ziji planet only had 2 top sections. Qinghan, you're really amazing. We entered the sect together, and you're already an inner disciple while I'm still an outer disciple. In the Ultimate Frost sect, one of the 2 top sects in the Violet Pole Star, at one side of the trade plaza, a tall and beautiful woman said to another woman next to her. This girl was even more beautiful than the one who had spoken. Her figure was graceful, and there was not a single flaw to be found on her. And she was Luo Qinghan, who had just entered the Jihan sect a year ago. A year ago, Luo Qinghan and a group of talented adepts from the Tianxian planet of the Luaha galaxy had been brought to the Hunglio galaxy by the top sects of the Hunglio galaxy. Then, the group of talented adepts from the various galaxies had been divided among the top sects of the Hunglio galaxy. As a female disciple, Luo Qinghan had been accepted by the Jihan sect, which had more women than men. In the Jihan sect, the ratio of female to male disciples had always been within 9 to 1, and it could be said that there was more meat than wolves. But even so, with Luo Qinghan's beauty, she was still pursued by many male disciples in the Jihan sect. After Luo Qinghan had entered the Jihan sect, she was recognized as the most beautiful woman in the sect. I was just lucky. Luo Qinghan smiled slightly. Normally, in the Jihan sect, one had to reach the Dharma stage before the age of 30 before they could enter the inner sect. However, the Jihan sect had also set up a test for Golden Essence disciples who were below 30 years old. Anyone who could pass the test would be able to enter the inner sect early and become an inner sect disciple, enjoying the benefits of an inner sect disciple. Of course, after these people became an inner sect disciple, if they had not reached the Dharma stage by the age of 30, they would be mercilessly kicked out of the inner sect. The inner sect of the Jihan sect did not want useless people. In this aspect, it was somewhat similar to the Lightning Sword sect. And in reality, the top sects of the Honglio galaxy basically all used this method. Qinghan, you've long said that you wanted to go home. When do you plan to go back? The girl beside Luo Qinghan asked with a smile. Speaking of which, I haven't been home for a long time. If you decide when to go back, we can go to the nearest galaxy teleporter together. I have no such plans at the moment. Luo Qinghan shook her head. However, after parting ways with the girl, on the way back to the inner sect, Luo Qinghan's lips curled into a mocking smile. Do you think I don't know that you have ulterior motives for approaching me? Having been tricked once before, Luo Qinghan had become extremely cautious. Although that outer sect disciple had entered the Jihan sect at the same time as her, the truth was that they were not familiar with each other at first. It was only when the other party had hooked up with the son of an inner sect elder in the Jihan sect that the other party had begun to approach her. After confirming that the girl would not be able to find her, Luo Qinghan left the Jihan sect, her eyes filled with passion and longing. I haven't been home for a long time. I wonder if father and granny are doing well and if my family is doing well. End of this chapter. Chapter 255. The Luoha Galaxy. The Tianxian Planet. Whoosh. A beautiful figure appeared in the galaxy teleporter near the Luo family. It was Luo Qinghan who had been teleported back from the Ziji planet of the Honglio Galaxy. Luo Qinghan had been away from home for 2 whole years. 2 years ago when I left, I had just entered the ultimate primal core stage. But now, my golden essence has already taken on the form of a Dharma power. I have already reached the threshold of the Dharma stage. On the way back to the Luo family, Luo Qinghan's beautiful face revealed a faint smile. If father and granny knew about this, they would definitely be shocked. Based on my current progress, entering the Dharma stage before the age of 30 is not difficult for me. Very quickly, Luo Qinghan returned to the Luo family home. The eyes of the patrolling disciples lit up when they saw her. First Mistress is back. First Mistress, congratulations. A few of the patrolling disciples looked at Luo Qinghan with bright smiles on their faces. They were even congratulating her. Congratulations? Luo Qinghan was a little confused. What was going on? She had not been back for 2 years. Could it be that these Luo disciples already knew that she was about to enter the Dharma stage? There was no reason for that. How could they possibly know? First Mistress, don't be shy. The son-in-law has already come to visit a few times. The master is now waiting for you to return so that he can hold your wedding with the son-in-law. An older disciple of the Luo family grinned. Yes. First Mistress, don't be shy. We have already met the son-in-law. The son-in-law is really handsome. He is a match made in heaven for you, First Mistress. Hearing the words of these Luo disciples, Luo Qinghan was dumbfounded. Son-in-law? Her father was waiting for her to return to hold a wedding for her? A match made in heaven? What was going on? What are you all talking about? What son-in-law? What wedding? After a while, Luo Qinghan recovered and asked with a frown. First Mistress, we really already know. You have to admit it? Exactly. Not only does the master like the son-in-law you found for the Luo family, even matriarchally likes him. Luo Qinghan was really speechless. How could she not know that the Luo family had found a son-in-law? Luo Qinghan knew that it would be useless to ask these Luo family juniors, so she decided to ask her father and grandmother directly. Grandma. Luo Qinghan first went to look for her grandmother, old Madame Li and Li Yu. Li Yu had been cultivating in her room, but when she heard Luo Qinghan's voice, she immediately stopped and looked pleasantly surprised. That last Qinghan is back? Pushing open the door before the smiling Luo Qinghan could open her mouth, Li Yu had already grabbed her by the hand and rushed her out. Grandma, where are you taking me? Luo Qinghan was confused. Was this really her grandmother? Why did she feel more like a human trafficker, dragging her away without saying a word? Go find your father. Liu said. Look for my father? Just as Luo Qinghan was still in a daze, Liu had already brought her to Luo Wuchen's room. Luo Wuchen, Qinghan is back. Regardless of whether Luo Wuchen was cultivating in seclusion or not, Liu shouted anxiously. Bang! A loud sound rang out, and it was the head of the Luo family, Luo Wuchen, who had burst through the door, his expression wild with joy. Qinghan is back? When he saw Luo Qinghan, his face broke into a radiant smile. Qinghan, you are very good, very good. I never thought that the one who would lead the Luo family to greatness would be you. Qinghan, since you are back, I should go to the Lightning Sword sect on the Tailao planet of the Honglio galaxy to find Dong Huang and get him to come back and marry you. As Luo Wuchen spoke, he was about to walk out. Wait. Just as Luo Wuchen was about to leave, Luo Qinghan finally regained her senses. Father, Grandma, what is going on? Why are all of you acting so strangely? Marry? Who do you want me to marry? And who is Dong Huang? Now, Luo Qinghan finally knew why the Luo family juniors had congratulated her. It was all because of her father. Little girl. Just as Luo Wuchen stopped in his tracks before he could speak, Liu had already said with a smile. He is the young man you met when you were teleported to the Ziyun planet through the galaxy teleporter. He came to look for you almost a year ago. He said he wanted to marry you and even gave you a betrothal gift. Your father has already accepted the betrothal gift. Liu smiled. So now you have a fiancé, do you know? Grandma, are you talking about that Zhou Dong Huang from the Ziyun planet? Luo Qinghan's eyes widened in disbelief. When she had met that young man on the Ziyun planet, she had been an early primal core adept, but he was only a qi-gathering adept who had not even achieved petty consummation of the qi-gathering. Now, her grandma was telling her that the young man had come to look for her almost a year ago? And he had even given her a betrothal gift? And her father had accepted it? It's him. Liu nodded. How is that possible? Luo Qinghan shook her head in disbelief. 8 years ago he was only a qi-gathering adept. How could he have found his way to the Tianshan planet of the Luoha galaxy? The planet he was on, and even the galaxy he was in, did not have a galaxy teleporter. If he wanted to leave that planet he would have to be at least an early primal core adept. Did someone bring him here? Luo Qinghan looked at Liu and Luo Wuchen, her eyes filled with doubt. Qinghan, no one brought Dong Huang here, he came here on his own. Don't underestimate Dong Huang. Almost a year ago when he came to look for us, he was already a golden essence adept. A few months ago when he came again he was already at the Dharma stage. At this point, Luo Wuchen seemed to have thought of something, and an almost imperceptible look of embarrassment flashed across his face. The last time Zhou Dong Huang had come to the Luo family and found out that Zhou Dong Huang was already a Dharma adept, Luo Wuchen, who had just reached the late Dharma stage, had said that he wanted to give Zhou Dong Huang some pointers. But in the end, Zhou Dong Huang had given him pointers. Zhou Dong Huang had used his mid-Dharma stage White Tiger Dharma power to battle Luo Wuchen's late Dharma power and defeated him within 10 moves. This was because Luo Wuchen had already switched to the technique of everlasting youth, and his Dharma power had very few flaws. However, because Luo Wuchen had not yet mastered the Dharmic possession technique, he had still lost to Zhou Dong Huang. Otherwise, even if he could not defeat Zhou Dong Huang, who had incredible battle experience, he would at least be able to fight Zhou Dong Huang to a draw. Almost a year ago, Golden Essence Adept? A few months ago, Dharma Stage? Father, are you sure you're not talking in your sleep? Luo Qinghan was stunned for a moment before she glared at Luo Wuchen, clearly not believing her father's words. Me? Talking in my sleep? Only then did Luo Wuchen realize that his daughter did not believe him at all. Qinghan, I'm not talking in my sleep. I'm telling the truth. At this point, Luo Wuchen looked at Liu pleadingly. Mother-in-law, can you tell Qinghan, did I lie to her? Liu smiled and said, Qinghan, although your father is usually unreliable, he did not lie to you about this. That child, Dong Huang, not only has he entered the Dharma stage, the last time he came back your father said that he wanted to give him some pointers and sparred with him, and he ended up being the one who taught him. That child only used a dozen or so moves to defeat your father. Liu's words were even more exaggerated than Luo Wuchen's, causing Luo Qinghan to be stunned once again. She could not wrap her head around it. As Luo Wuchen smiled bitterly, Liu continued, Yes, when your father was defeated by that child, Dong Huang, he was already at the late Dharma stage. If Li Yu's earlier words were already frightening enough to Luo Qinghan, then what she said next scared her even more. However, when Li Yu's words fell into Luo Qinghan's ears, Luo Qinghan was so frightened that her pupils contracted rapidly, and her pretty face instantly changed color. That kid is a freak. At this time Luo Wuchen cursed. He's only at the mid-Dharma stage, but he can actually defeat me, a late Dharma adept. Although I've only just entered the late Dharma stage, my abilities are already stronger than Uncle's. However, I still lost to him. That kid. I'm his father-in-law and he doesn't even know how to give in to me? Qinghan, you have to discipline your man and learn to respect his elders. As he said this, Luo Wuchen became a little angry again. Luo Wuchen's uncle was one of the 2 late Dharma adepts of the Luo family, the other person besides Li Yu. At the same time he was one of the 2 pillars of the Luo family. And now, after Luo Wuchen and Li Yu had switched to the deity-level technique, the technique of everlasting youth, they had both achieved breakthroughs. Luo Wuchen had entered the late Dharma stage, and Li Yu was getting closer and closer to the ultimate Dharma stage. She was confident that she would be able to break through within a few years. Father, don't say anything first. Luo Qinghan slumped weakly in front of the stone table in the courtyard. She held onto the stone table with one hand and rubbed her temples with the other. I want some time alone. Whether it was her grandmother Li Yu's words or her father Luo Wuchen's words, they were all too much of a shock to her. 8 years ago he was just a young man at the Qi gathering stage. Now he had actually grown to such a stage? Was he even human? Luo Qinghan was clear that her father might have lied to her, but her grandmother would definitely not lie to her, let alone collude with her father to lie to her. Therefore all of this should be true. And it was precisely because of this that she was shocked. Qinghan, I know that you have too many doubts and disbelief in your heart, but this is the truth. Li Yu also knew what her granddaughter was thinking and explained to her at the right time. Do you still remember what grandmother told you? The reason why your innate talent underwent such a drastic change was most likely because of that one night with Dong Huang? That is the truth. The reason why Dong Huang's level of practice was low when he met you was because he only started training when he was almost 17 years old. In just a short year, no matter how talented he was, he could not have reached the Khanate stage or even the primal core stage, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 256. Dong Huang's bloodline is noble, and his martial arts talent far surpasses yours, which is why your talent has improved so much. Li Yu said to Luo Qinghan seriously. Dong Huang also said that he was entrusted by his biological father to the Ziyun planet of the Kaiyuan galaxy. His birth parents must be extremely powerful existences to be able to give birth to him with his noble bloodline. Although you have your current talent because of him, compared to him, you definitely can't compare. At this point, Li Yu's gaze softened. Qinghan, Granny wants to know, what do you think? Dong Huang has said that he will take responsibility for you, and because of this, he has given your father a betrothal gift, which your father has accepted. Li Yu's words caused Luo Qinghan's expression to change, and she did not reply for a long time. Finally, she looked at Luo Wuchen. Father, you did not even ask if I agreed to marry him. Why did you accept his betrothal gift? Quickly return the betrothal gift to him. I do not want to become someone's fiancé without even knowing why. Luo Qinghan said. Luo Wuchen and Li Yu looked at each other at Luo Qinghan's words. After a moment, Luo Wuchen smiled bitterly and said, My dear daughter, I can't return it. Dong Huang is handsome, responsible, and talented. Not only is there no one in the Luoha galaxy who is more outstanding than him, but there is also no one in the Hengliu galaxy who is more outstanding than him. It is your good fortune to be able to marry him. Luo Wuchen said. Father, what kind of drug did he give you to make you speak up for him? Luo Qinghan asked with a frown. Without waiting for Luo Wuchen to speak, Luo Qinghan looked at Li Yu and said, Granny, tell father to return the betrothal gift to him. Go. Li Yu also smiled bitterly. That betrothal gift, there is really no way to return it. I don't agree with the other things your father says, but I agree 100, 1,000, 10,000 times with what he said today. Dong Huang is a good child, and it is his good fortune to be able to marry him. Little girl, you must believe me. I won't harm you. The moment Li Yu spoke, Luo Qinghan felt a wave of helplessness in her heart. What kind of spell had Zhou Dong Huang fed the 2 people she cared about the most? Grandma, I know you won't harm me. Luo Qinghan's expression was solemn as she said, However, marriage is an important matter, how can it be taken lightly? Although I had an accident with Zhou Donghuang, I can't marry him because of that. I Luo Qinghan am not such a loose person. The betrothal gifts he gave to our Luo family must be returned. As she spoke, Luo Qinghan's voice became much louder, and her attitude was very firm. He was the betrothal gift he gave to me, so I have the right to reject it. Qinghan, there's no way to retreat. Luo Wuchen smiled bitterly and said, Donghuang's betrothal gift is a technique. Now both your grandmother and I are practicing that technique. How do you expect me to back out? Cultivation method? Luo Qinghan frowned. A technique that could make her father and her grandmother switch to practicing had to be even better than the one they had been practicing before. Taking a deep breath, Luo Qinghan said in a low voice, I am now an inner disciple of the Jihan sect, one of the top sects in the Honglio galaxy. In the future, I will also have the chance to obtain a technique from the Jihan sect that can be passed on to outsiders. I can promise him that I will return another technique to him in the future. Luo Qinghan said. Qinghan, do you think that the technique he gave the Luo family was only slightly stronger than ours? Although he had never heard of the Jihan sect, Luo Wuchen had a general idea of the top sects in the Honglio galaxy. In those sects, not to mention ordinary techniques, even the core techniques were far inferior to the technique of everlasting youth that his son-in-law had given him. The technique of everlasting youth was a top immortal technique that could be practiced all the way to the ultimate immortal stage. Ultimate immortal adepts were all existences that stood at the pinnacle of the boundless universe. Each of them had the terrifying power to destroy planets with a wave of their hands and swallow entire galaxies with their mouths. Is that not the case? Luo Qinghan had a bad premonition in her heart. The technique that he gave us is a divan-level technique, and it is a top immortal technique that can be practiced all the way to the ultimate immortal stage. Luo Wuchen said in a low voice, You should know what a top immortal technique is, right? From what I know, the top sects in the Honglio galaxy each basically only have one divine transformation technique, and it is only a low-level divine transformation technique. Normally, one can only practice it up to the early divine transformation stage. Only the two transcendental forces in the Honglio galaxy have techniques that are above the mid-level divine transformation stage. Although he had never been to the Honglio galaxy because his daughter had gone to the Honglio galaxy, Luo Wuchen had specially gone to the Honglio galaxy in the past 2 years to understand some things about the Honglio galaxy. As soon as Luo Wuchen said this, Luo Qinghan was once again stunned. A divan-level technique? And it was a top immortal technique? Naturally, she knew that the higher the level, the more valuable the technique was. In the Honglio galaxy, a mid-level divine transformation technique was a rare treasure. The Jihan sect's signature technique was only a low-level divine transformation technique that her father had mentioned. After the divine transformation stage is the separating divinity, and after the separating divinity stage is the immortal stage. Top immortal techniques are only available to some of the top sects in the galaxy. Just then Liu added. Actually, even if Liu did not say it, Luo Qinghan also knew what the words, top immortal technique represented. It represented almost all the top techniques in the universe. Perhaps it was not one of the top techniques, but it was definitely one of the top techniques. He gave me a top immortal technique as a betrothal gift. He wants to marry me? Luo Qinghan's heart skipped a beat. At this moment, even she could feel the man's sincerity. However, she really could not understand. Why was he so willing to give it to her? Was it because of that accident? After a moment, Luo Qinghan took a deep breath and looked at Luo Wuchen. Father, I want to see him. The betrothal gift that he had given her was too valuable, and she could not return it to him. It was so heavy that she could barely breathe. However, this matter had to be resolved. She wanted to see him again to see how this matter would be resolved. All right, I'll bring him back. Luo Wuchen replied. Father, I'll go with you. Didn't you say that he is also in the Honglio galaxy? And the Lightning Sword sect on the Tailao planet of the Honglio galaxy? I know the Lightning Sword sect. It is also one of the top sects in the Honglio galaxy. Luo Qinghan said. Immediately after, Luo Wuchen brought Luo Qinghan through the galaxy teleporter and arrived near the Lightning Sword sect on the Tailao planet of the Honglio galaxy. Then the two of them prepared to go to the Lightning Sword sect to look for Zhou Donghuang. Who are you? Why are you here at the Lightning Sword sect? Just as the two of them neared the Lightning Sword sect, they were stopped by a few disciples who were patrolling the area. Two of the young disciples saw Luo Qinghan, and their eyes lit up. In the Lightning Sword sect, there was no female disciple as beautiful as her. Everyone, I am the father-in-law of Zhou Donghuang, an inner disciple of the sect. I have brought his fiancée here to look for him. I think he told me that he is in the Autumn Valley of the inner sect. Luo Wuqian asked politely. Although he was now a late Dharma adept, he knew that his level of practice was nothing in the Lightning Sword sect. In fact, he could not even be an ordinary outer sect elder. Because of this, even though the patrolling disciples in front of him might not be as powerful as him, he did not dare to underestimate them. This was because he had the Lightning Sword sect, a powerful entity behind him. Luo Qinghan did not expect her father to introduce her as Zhou Donghuang's fiancée. Before she could do anything, she heard a series of gasps. Zhou Donghuang. Junior brother Donghuang's father-in-law? This is junior brother Donghuang's fiancée? The patrolling disciples of the Lightning Sword sect were all outer disciples, and they had personally witnessed how Zhou Donghuang had fought for the Lightning Sword sect's reputation in the face of adversity. He had defeated the Thunder Knife sect's genius disciple, who was said to be 1 in 100 years. After that battle, most of the outer disciples were shocked by Zhou Donghuang, including these patrolling disciples. After knowing Luo Qinghan's identity, the two outer disciples who had been staring at her because of her good looks hurriedly looked away and did not dare to look at her again. So it is junior brother Donghuang's father-in-law and fiancé? Both of you, please come in, I will bring you to the Autumn Valley to look for junior brother Donghuang. The middle-aged man who was the leader of the outer disciples came forward enthusiastically and said to Luo Wuqian and Luo Qinghan. Luo Qinghan was not the only one who was surprised by his enthusiasm. Even Luo Wuqian was surprised. Luo Qinghan's eyes were filled with shock and uncertainty. She could not imagine that Zhou Donghuang had only entered the Lightning Sword sect for a short period of time. How was it that the patrolling disciples of the Lightning Sword sect were so respectful to him? It was only when the outer disciple who had led them there excitedly told them about the battle between Zhou Donghuang and the genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, that they finally understood why the patrolling disciples of the Lightning Sword sect were so respectful to Zhou Donghuang. That genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, is said to be 1 in 100 years of martial arts prodigy on the Tailao planet. He must be a very talented person. Luo Wuqian said. Isn't that right? The outer sect disciple laughed and said, he's only 24 years old and he's already at the mid-Dharma stage. However, his talent and training is already astonishing. Most importantly, the only mid-Dharma core disciple of our Lightning Sword sect could not even withstand 3 blows from him. At that time, everyone thought that the Lightning Sword sect was going to lose to the Thunder Knife sect in that sparring match between mid-Dharma adepts. That was until junior brother Donghuang made his move, and with just one move he defeated that lad. In fact, before he fought, junior brother Donghuang even said that if he could not defeat his opponent in one move, he would lose. Now that I think about it, junior brother Donghuang was really too domineering. As the outer disciple spoke, he was especially excited. End of this chapter. Chapter 257. Hearing the words of the outer sect disciple, Luo Wuqian looked at his daughter with a smug look on his face as if to say, "Look how outstanding the husband I found for you is." However, Luo Qinghan was now in a daze. She had heard of the genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect on the Tailao planet. Even in the Jihan sect on the Ziji planet, Han Yujing was a 24-year-old mid-Dharma adept, and he was the top adept in the Thunder Knife sect below the late Dharma stage. Most late Dharma adepts could only fight him to a draw. Such a stunning figure, and a man at that, was also a hot topic of discussion among the female disciples of the Jihan sect, where there were too many women and too few men. Although Luo Qinghan was not as infatuated as the other female disciples, she was still amazed by the martial talent of the Thunder Knife sect's genius disciple. He's only 24 this year, right? He defeated Han Yujing with one move? Luo Qinghan was stunned. She had never imagined that the young man she had pinned down so many years ago would have grown to such an extent. However, when she thought of what happened in the past, her gaze became a little evasive, and an imperceptible blush appeared on her beautiful cheeks. Both of you, the Autumn Valley is just up ahead. The outer sect disciple brought Luo Wuqian and Luo Qinghan to the Autumn Valley and asked where Zhou Donghuang was staying. Outer sect disciple, Tang Hai, requests to see brother Donghuang. The outer sect disciple stood outside Zhou Donghuang's room and greeted him respectfully. Although Tang Hai was also a mid-Dharma adept, he knew that he was no match for Zhou Donghuang. Even if he reached the late Dharma stage, he might not be Zhou Donghuang's match. Because of this, Even though Zhou Donghuang was young and had joined the sect late, he was still very humble. Outer sect disciple? Zhou Donghuang, who was practicing in his room, could not help but be surprised when he heard Tang Hai's voice. Why is he looking for me? Puzzled, Zhou Donghuang walked out of his room. With just one glance, he saw two familiar figures standing behind an unfamiliar middle-aged man. One of them was his future father-in-law, Luo Wuqian. The other person was just as young and beautiful as she had been 7 years ago, as if she had been frozen in time. It was Luo Qinghan, whom he could not help but think of when he was free. Junior brother Donghuang, they said they were looking for you. Seeing Zhou Donghuang come out, Tang Hai's eyes lit up, and he landed on the ground with a bright smile on his face. Thank you. With Zhou Donghuang's nod, Tang Hai also understood that there was no problem with the identities of the two people he had brought, so he bade farewell and left. Of course, before he left, he once again tactfully repeated that he was an outer sect disciple, Tang Hai, as if deeply afraid that Zhou Donghuang did not know who he was. Ah, Donghuang, when you went to the Luo family to look for me, I didn't hear you mention anything about defeating the so-called genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect in 100 years. You really hit it well. Luo Wuqian laughed heartily as he walked forward and patted Zhou Donghuang's shoulder. They were very familiar with each other, and those who did not know better would have thought that they were father and son. Of course, Luo Wuqian added in his heart, if I had known that you were so King powerful, being able to defeat the strongest mid-Dharma adept in the Thunder Knife sect with a single blow, I would not have tried to teach you that day. Father-in-law. Zhou Donghuang smiled as he greeted him, then shook his head and said, it was just a small matter, I would have forgotten if you had not mentioned it. Haha, if that was a small matter then what comes next should be a big matter, right? Luo Wuqian laughed again then moved to the side. As he laughed, he looked at Luo Qinghan, who was still standing in the air not far away and waved at her. Qinghan, why aren't you coming over to meet your husband? Father. I have not acknowledged this marriage yet. Luo Qinghan frowned slightly, and after retorting she landed in front of Zhou Donghuang, looking at him with a complicated expression. She had originally thought that it was at most a one-night stand, but she did not expect that he would come knocking on her door. Furthermore, he had given her father such an exaggerated betrothal gift. Even if she wanted to retreat now, she could not. Are you all right? Although Zhou Donghuang had lived for 1,000 years in his previous life, he was still very ignorant about the matters between men and women. Seeing this woman who he often missed, he forced a smile and asked with some embarrassment. I'm all right. Zhou Donghuang was embarrassed, and Luo Qinghan was naturally embarrassed as well, especially now that she was in the wrong. If you have no objections, then let's settle the matter of our marriage. After the marriage is settled, I will bring you back to the Ziyun planet to meet my mother and my sister. Secretly taking a deep breath, Zhou Donghuang suppressed the palpitations in his heart. Feeling nervous, he went straight to the point and said, as for the wedding, you can hold it on the Tianshan planet or the Ziyun planet if you want. He felt that even if there was a mighty adept of the deity's tribulation standing in front of him now, he would definitely not be this nervous. It is better to hold it on the Tianshan planet and the Ziyun planet respectively. Before Luo Qinghan could speak, Luo Wuqian had already said this with a smile, obviously very concerned about this matter. Luo Qinghan glared at him, then looked at Zhou Donghuang and said, I can feel your sincerity towards me and I am very touched. I admit that I have feelings for you, but it has not reached the stage where we are talking about marriage. What happened 7 years ago was an accident, you don't have to feel guilty towards me. If you think that you are worried that I will get together with another man and cause you to feel unhappy, then you can rest assured, here I can promise you that even if I, Luo Qinghan, die, I will never be with another man other than you. In my eyes, marriage is an important matter, not a child's play. I only want to marry the person I want to marry. Of course, the betrothal gift you gave my father is too expensive, and I am afraid that I will never be able to return that betrothal gift. If you insist on marrying me, due to the pressure from my father and my grandmother, coupled with the sacrifices you have made for me, I can give in. But if you do that, I will feel uncomfortable. Even if you have me, you will only have my body, not my heart. Furthermore, we only met once back then and we did not spend much time together. Do you really like me? Or is it because you only want to be responsible for me? If you only want to be responsible for me, you don't have to. After all, what happened back then was not what we wanted, so you don't have to feel guilty. That's all I have to say. Luo Qinghan spoke very seriously, but Luo Wuqian, who was standing at the side, looked anxious. He then looked at Zhou Donghuang and said, "Good son-in-law, feelings can be nurtured slowly after marriage, don't have any ulterior motives just because of what this girl said." Luo Wuqian was scared, really scared. If such a good son-in-law ran away, where else could he find him? "Father, can you be quieter?" Luo Qinghan felt helpless. Was this really her biological father? Not only was he not on her side, but he was also not even maintaining a neutral stance? And he was even going to stand on the opposite side? At the same time, under the gaze of Luo Wuqian and Luo Qinghan, Zhou Donghuang, who had been calm and composed, suddenly smiled. This smile was somewhat unfathomable to the two of them. "I'm sorry." Zhou Donghuang looked at Luo Qinghan and sighed. "I never thought that this matter would give you so much pressure and cause you so much trouble. After hearing your words, I thought about it. It was indeed presumptuous of me to come here and propose marriage. As for me, the reason why I want to marry you is indeed because I want to be responsible for you, to the point that I will not allow any other man to touch you. That betrothal gift, as well as this core medicine, will be my apology for my presumptuous actions this time. Regarding what happened between us, you can just treat it as a farce and let it end here. In the future, between us, let fate decide everything." As Zhou Donghuang said this, he took out a small core medicine bottle from his space ring, which contained a single developing pill. "There's no need to apologize." Luo Qinghan did not expect Zhou Donghuang to say this, and for a moment she felt an inexplicable emptiness in her heart, but on the surface she shook her head. "That technique, I promise that my father and granny will not pass it on to a third person. Even I will not practice that technique. Since both my father and granny have practiced the technique you gave them, coupled with the fact that I have no way of returning you a similar technique, all I can do is for you, I will not be close to any other man. I will remain chaste for you for the rest of my life." As soon as she said this, Luo Qinghan took a deep breath and calmed herself down. She looked at Luo Wuqian and said, "Father, let's go back. I have something to say to you and granny." "Wait." At this time, Zhou Donghuang stopped Luo Wuqian. "Chief Luo, I have something to say to you, let's talk in private." "All right." Hearing Zhou Donghuang change the way he addressed him, Luo Wuqian smiled bitterly. Was he going to miss out on such a good son-in-law in the end? He really could not understand. What was that girl thinking? She had missed out on such a good man just like that. Furthermore, she had even said that if she missed out on this man, she would not marry for the rest of her life? How could he have given birth to such a daughter? "Father, I will wait for you outside the Autumn Valley." Luo Qinghan bade farewell to Luo Wuqian and rose into the air. Before she left, she warned Luo Wuqian, "Do not take anything from him again." After Luo Qinghan left, Luo Wuqian looked at Zhou Donghuang awkwardly and said, "Donghuang, regarding this matter, I'm sorry. The technique that you gave me after mother-in-law and I memorized it, we destroyed it, we promised not to pass it on to anyone else." Luo Wuqian had always been a straightforward person. If Zhou Donghuang could become his son-in-law, then they would be family and there would be no difference between them. But now his daughter had ruined everything and he was in a bad spot. At the same time, he regretted accepting the betrothal gift in the first place. But since his daughter insisted on it, there was nothing he could do. He could not possibly break her legs, could he? End of this chapter. Chapter 258. Donghuang, the Luo family will do our best to make it up to you. Luo Wuqian's face was full of remorse. He really hoped that the marriage between his daughter and the young man in front of him would go through. Besides the fact that his daughter had already lost her chastity to him, the fact that Zhou Donghuang had come to propose marriage showed that he was a responsible person. A person like that was worthy of his daughter's life. Furthermore, besides his sense of responsibility, Zhou Donghuang was also outstanding. Not just in the Luoha galaxy where the Luo family was located, but even in the Honglio galaxy, which was superior to the Luoha galaxy, he would be one of the best. If he missed out on such a son-in-law, where would he find another one? There's no need. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. "I asked you to stay behind not because I want to reap any benefits. I just want to give this elixir to you." As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang handed the elixir bottle that he had taken out earlier to Luo Wuqian. This elixir was prepared for her in the first place. "No matter what happens between us in the future, please accept this elixir. As for how you are going to give it to her, you can come up with any excuse you want." Donghuang. Luo Wuqian felt even more guilty now. "There's no need, you've already given us more than enough. You gave us an elixir that can help Dharma adepts in their practice, and now you're giving us a deity-level technique. We can't take anything else from you. Chief Luo, although there's only one elixir in this bottle, this elixir is enough for her to enter the Dharma stage in just half a year. As soon as Zhou Donghuang said this, Luo Wuchen's eyes widened in disbelief. A single elixir would allow his daughter to enter the Dharma stage in half a year? Keep it. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. In the end, our relationship might not be doomed. This elixir is of great help to her. Without this elixir, she would have to waste at least a few years to enter the Dharma stage. Luo Wuchen had originally wanted to decline, but after hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, he hesitated. After all, this elixir, according to Zhou Donghuang, was enough to affect his daughter's future. As a parent, which parent did not wish for their son or daughter to become a dragon or a phoenix? Finally, Luo Wuchen accepted the elixir from Zhou Donghuang. It was a developing elixir. Be it Zhou Donghuang or De Zhuang, the reason why they were able to advance from the ultimate primal core stage to the Dharma stage in such a short period of time was because they had consumed the developing elixir. Yes, after you take this pill, you must use the spirit gathering formation that I passed to you earlier. Try to use as many tens of thousands of medium spirit stones as you can to set it up for cultivation. Zhou Donghuang continued. Although Luo Wuchen knew how to set up a spirit gathering array in the past, the spirit gathering array that he had set up was a relatively low-grade one. It could only consume a few thousand mid-grade spirit stones or 10,000 low-grade spirit stones at the same time, and it had limited effects on cultivation. After that, Zhou Donghuang passed on to him the method to set up an advanced energy-gathering formation. Donghuang. Luo Wuchen looked at Zhou Donghuang sternly. No matter what that girl Qinghan thinks or does, I, Luo Wuchen, will recognize you as my son-in-law. In the future, if you need me or the Luo family to do anything for you, just say the word, and the Luo family and I will do our best to help you. Luo Wuchen felt even more guilty now that he had accepted Zhou Donghuang's offer. In the future, you can come to the Luo family as a guest at any time. The Luo family will always welcome you. You can even stay here for a long time. Luo Wuchen continued. Thank you, Chief Luo. Zhou Donghuang smiled slightly. Now there is nothing else. Chief Luo, please take your daughter back. All right. Luo Wuchen nodded. Before he left, he intentionally revealed a piece of information to Duan Ling Tian. Donghuang, that girl Qinghan has now entered the top sect of the Honglio Galaxy's ZG planet, the Jihan sect. Didn't that girl say that she has no feelings for you now? In the future, you two should interact more and she will naturally realize how good you are. If the two of you are really together, I, Luo Wuchen, will definitely hold a grand wedding for the two of you. Luo Wuchen said confidently. After Luo Wuchen left, Zhou Donghuang shook his head, and the smile on his face deepened. What a stubborn girl. However, through this incident, it is not difficult to see that she is not the kind of girl who is greedy for fame and glory, nor is she obsessed with seeking connections. Although Luo Qinghan had rejected his proposal of marriage today, he was not angry. Not only was he not angry, but he was actually quite happy. This was because this was enough to show Luo Qinghan's character. If the two transcendental forces of the Honglio Galaxy were to see everything that he had displayed in front of Luo Qinghan, those two transcendental forces would definitely not be able to hold themselves back and would send their most outstanding women to his bed. However, all of this had been rejected by Luo Qinghan. ZG planet, Jihan sect? Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed. We will meet again. In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang did not have much of a concept of women. The only concept he had was that the great clans and supreme sects of the galaxy all wanted to marry off their clan or sect's proud daughters to him, so that they could form a relationship with him and make him an elder or something like that. In this, there were too many entanglements of interests. This time, if Luo Qinghan had immediately agreed to his proposal of marriage and wanted nothing more than to get close to him, he would have looked down on Luo Qinghan to a certain extent. He would have thought that Luo Qinghan was purely interested in the various benefits that he could bring to her and the Luo family. Now, at least he could see that Luo Qinghan was not someone who would sell herself for benefits. On the other side, after Luo Wuchen left Zhou Donghuang's place, he left the Autumn Valley and met up with Luo Qinghan. Then, they left the Lightning Sword sect together and used the nearby galaxy teleporter to teleport back to the Tianshan planet of the Luoha galaxy. On the way back to the Luo family, Luo Qinghan could not help but ask, "Father, what did he say when he asked you to stay?" "Nothing much." Luo Wuchen sighed. "He told me that I don't need to feel guilty because of the betrothal gift he gave me." "What a good kid." He was rejected by you in such a way, but he still thinks that I won't feel guilty. Say, such a good son-in-law, if I miss him this time, where will I find another one in the future? As he spoke, Luo Wuqian's face was full of regret. Naturally, he could not tell the truth. If he told the truth, based on his daughter's personality, she would definitely not accept Zhou Donghuang's good intentions. Luo Qinghan was silent for a moment before she said, "Father, I know you are very disappointed. When we get home and Granny finds out about this, she will definitely be disappointed too. But I really have no other choice. I admit that he is very outstanding, and if I were to be with him, it would only be beneficial to me. But if you want me to be with another man because of this, I really cannot do it. I, Luo Qinghan, have my own bottom line. Let's not talk about me, let's talk about Mother. I heard from Granny that among the group of talented young men who chased after Mother, there were many whose family backgrounds and talents were better than yours, but Mother did not date those with the best family backgrounds and talents. Instead, she chose you who she truly liked. Of course, I definitely do not have the luck that Mother has. Because I will remember, even if I am not fated to be with Zhou Donghuang in the end, just because he taught you and Granny the deity-level technique, I will not do anything to make him unhappy." Luo Qinghan had already decided that in this lifetime, she would never come into contact with another man again. As for Zhou Donghuang, perhaps they would never meet again in the future. Actually, Luo Qinghan was very clear that she had some feelings for Zhou Donghuang. After all, he was her first man, and he was the only man who had been on good terms with her so far. If Zhou Donghuang was just an ordinary, grassroots genius, and they were fated to meet again, she would be willing to try to get closer to him and see if they could be together. However, Zhou Donghuang was not some grassroots genius, but someone who seemed to have a very impressive background. He could casually take out a deity-level technique as a betrothal gift and hand it over to her father. He was only 24 years old, but he was already a mid-Dharma adept, and his abilities were even stronger than her father, Luo Wuqian, who was already at the late Dharma stage. One had to know that her father had already switched to a deity-level technique, and even though he had just reached the late Dharma stage, he would probably be hard-pressed to find a worthy opponent among all the late Dharma adepts on the Tianshan planet, or even the entire Luaha galaxy. But he had been defeated by Zhou Donghuang, who was only at the mid-Dharma stage. What did this mean? It meant that although Zhou Donghuang was only a mid-Dharma adept, his abilities had already surpassed most late Dharma adepts. Such an existence was extremely rare even in the Honglio galaxy, let alone in the Luaha galaxy, or even in other galaxies with more adepts. Although she did not want to admit it, she had to admit it. She was ashamed of her own inferiority. The more outstanding Zhou Donghuang was, the more distant she felt that they were. Under such circumstances, she had become much more sensitive. She had even decided to avoid meeting Zhou Donghuang as much as possible in the future, so that time would wash away everything. With his talent and foundation, he will definitely meet a better woman in the future, and when that time comes, he will not take me seriously anymore. Perhaps, in the future, I will only exist as a memory that he will occasionally think of when he is free. This time, when I return to the Luo family, I will accompany Father and Granny for a few days, then return to the Jihan sect to train hard. I owe him too much, and the only thing I can repay him is my loyalty to him." Before Luo Qinghan returned to the Jihan sect, Luo Wuqian still could not think of a good way to let Luo Qinghan consume the developing elixir that Zhou Donghuang had given her. In the end, he had no choice but to mix it in Luo Qinghan's food. For this, he had put in a lot of effort to conceal the elixir's smell, deeply afraid that Luo Qinghan would discover it. Just like that, Luo Qinghan left the Luo family, left the Tianshan planet, and left the Luaha galaxy. Before returning to the Jihan sect on the Ziji planet of the Honglio galaxy, her body also carried the effects of the ancient, developing elixir. What? Chapter 259. Autumn came and went. Unknowingly, Zhou Donghuang had been in the Lightning Sword sect for 2 whole years. In these 2 years, the Lightning Sword sect had been peaceful, and Zhou Donghuang had gradually become an old man in the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect. Zhou Donghuang had been in the Autumn Valley for 2 years, and in these 2 years the Autumn Valley had accepted a new batch of disciples. They were all outer disciples who had entered the Dharma stage before the age of 30. However, although Zhou Donghuang had become an old man in the Autumn Valley, he was still the youngest in the Autumn Valley. He was 26 years old. In the Autumn Valley, although there were golden essence adepts before the age of 30, they were all older than Zhou Donghuang. In these 2 years, There were also some ultimate primal core Autumn Valley disciples who had not entered the Dharma stage before the age of 30 and were expelled from the Autumn Valley. It's still very difficult. For Zhou Donghuang, there were no obstacles in the way of improving his level of practice because of the accumulation from his previous life. Now, Zhou Donghuang found it difficult because he was studying the later stages of the Lord of the Four Supremes. When he first started practicing the Lord of the Four Supremes, he already knew that he could only reach the ultimate primordial soul stage at most. If he wanted to enter the divine transformation stage, he would have to study it on his own. In the past year, besides practicing and occasionally leaving the Autumn Valley to wander around the Lightning Sword sect, Zhou Donghuang spent his free time studying the Lord of the Four Supremes to reach the divine transformation stage. Until now he had not found anything. Forget it. I should focus on breaking through to the primordial soul stage first, then figure out the later stages of the Lord of the Four Supremes. Perhaps I will have a better idea when the time comes. At this thought, Zhou Donghuang opened his eyes and walked out of his room. He subconsciously turned his head in the direction of De Zhuang's residence. Now the sky above De Zhuang's residence was not peaceful. Whoosh, 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 boom, kaboom. The sound of swords whistling as well as the sound of mountains collapsing immediately attracted Zhou Donghuang's attention. Are they sparring again? In the past year, whenever his third senior sister He Mingxi was free, she would look for De Zhuang to spar with her. Of course, it was only after De Zhuang had entered the mid-Dharma stage that he began sparring with De Zhuang. Now, as far as Zhou Donghuang knew, the number of times they had sparred was no less than 30, and each time they were evenly matched. De Zhuang was very satisfied and happy. He was actually able to fight to a draw with his senior sister. This meant that he would be able to protect his senior sister in the future. But He Mingxi was very dissatisfied and unhappy. In the past, this blockhead's strength was far inferior to hers, but now he was able to fight her to a draw without her risking her life? Oh. Zhou Donghuang stepped into the air, and in the blink of an eye he was in the air watching the two figures fighting from afar. He Mingxi's Dharma power was still the Great Sword Dharma power, but when the Great Sword Dharma power launched an attack, the sword aura split into dozens of sword auras that swept towards the 3-meter-tall young man. On the other hand, the young man's entire body was burning with raging flames, and around the flames were clearly visible bolts of lightning. He threw a punch, and the sound of air exploding rang out, suppressing the dozens of sword rays that were coming at him. After a moment, the sword rays exploded again, attacking him from all directions. At this time, the thunder and fire Dharma power on his body retracted, as if it had condensed into a suit of armor that protected him. No matter how the sword rays whistled through the air, he forcefully withstood them. His body only trembled slightly. De Zhuang's reaction speed is much faster than before. It seems that the increase in his level of practice and the broadening of his horizons have also made his slightly slow mind much more agile, Zhou Donghuang thought to himself. Seeing this, Zhou Donghuang thought to himself. Enough, enough. De Zhuang, this turtle shell of yours is too hard. Unless I pay the price of being seriously injured and fight you to the death, I will not be able to break through your defense at all. He Mingxi retracted her hand, and the great sword Dharma power retracted. Then she said to the 3-meter-tall big man somewhat gloomily. Hee hee, the big man laughed and scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Then he glanced into the distance and his eyes suddenly lit up. Little brother. Little brother? Because He Mingxi's back was facing Zhou Donghuang, her reaction was much slower than Zhou Donghuang's. It was only when she turned around that she saw Zhou Donghuang. Third sister. The moment he saw He Mingxi, Zhou Donghuang's gaze softened, and a look of respect appeared in his eyes. After experiencing the memories of his past life, this third sister was both a sister and a mother to him. Little brother, why don't you spar with me and De Zhuang at the same time today? In the past, He Mingxi had taken the initiative to invite Zhou Donghuang to spar with her, but each time she had been badly beaten by Zhou Donghuang. Finally, she had been traumatized and she had not looked for Zhou Donghuang since half a year ago. Now she suddenly had an idea. If she alone was not Zhou Donghuang's match, then what if she joined forces with De Zhuang? If the two of them worked together, they might not necessarily be Zhou Donghuang's match. After all, Zhou Donghuang was only a mid-Dharma adept like them. He Mingxi had just finished speaking, and Zhou Donghuang had not yet spoken, but De Zhuang's eyes had already lit up. In the past, he had also looked for Zhou Donghuang to spar with him, and he had also been badly beaten by Zhou Donghuang. Now, hearing what He Mingxi had said, it was as if he could see the light at the end of the tunnel, and his heart was filled with anticipation. Third sister, are you sure? Zhou Donghuang looked deeply at He Mingxi and asked with a smile. I'm sure. He Mingxi nodded. Just tell me if you dare to or not. Why wouldn't I dare? Zhou Donghuang shook his head and smiled. Then he stepped into the air, and in the blink of an eye he was even higher up in the sky, looking down at He Mingxi and Dezhuang. Third sister, Dezhuang, use all your strength and come at me together. Little brother, why are you flying so high up in the sky for a spar? He Mingxi frowned slightly. Are you provoking me and Dezhuang? I'm afraid that if I make a move, I might accidentally destroy our place. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Destroy your and Dezhuang's place? Little brother, don't tell me that you've already entered the late Dharma stage? He Mingxi's face was full of disbelief. However, Zhou Donghuang only looked at her with a smile and did not respond. Dezhuang, go. Let little brother see what we're capable of. He Mingxi called out to Dezhuang. As Dezhuang's entire body was surrounded by lightning and fire, and as he shot into the sky, He Mingxi also took to the air on her sword. The 30-foot-tall Thunder Fire Dharma power and the 30-foot-tall Giant Sword Dharma power carried an awe-inspiring aura as they flew towards Zhou Donghuang. However, in the face of He Mingxi and Dezhuang's combined attack, Zhou Donghuang raised an eyebrow lazily. In the next moment he released his inner yuan, and a huge illusory image of a giant tiger appeared. It was his White Tiger Dharma power. As soon as the White Tiger Dharma power appeared, it stole the Thunder and Fire Dharma power and the Giant Sword Dharma power's Thunder and Fire Dharma power. This was because it was too big. Whether compared to the Thunder and Fire Dharma power or the Giant Sword Dharma power, its size was many times larger. When the 10-foot-tall White Tiger Dharma power appeared in front of He Mingxi and Dezhuang, they were so shocked that their expressions changed. A 10-foot-tall White Tiger Dharma power was 30 meters long. Of course, when the White Tiger Dharma power appeared, it was standing upright. Even so, with a body of 30 meters long, it was still a huge creature. Little brother, has he really broken through to the late Dharma stage? He Mingxi's eyes were filled with disbelief. There was no suspense in what happened next. Before Zhou Donghuang's White Tiger Dharma power had a breakthrough, be it He Mingxi or Dezhuang, none of them would be a match for him. At that time, even if He Mingxi and Dezhuang joined forces, they might not be able to win against Zhou Donghuang. Now that Zhou Donghuang's White Tiger Dharma power had broken through to the late Dharma stage, there was no longer any suspense in this battle. The giant Tiger Dharma power casually struck out with its claws and shattered He Mingxi and Dezhuang's Dharma power. Fortunately, Zhou Donghuang stopped in time, and He Mingxi and Dezhuang only suffered some minor injuries from the backlash of their inner yuan. Little brother, you've really entered the late Dharma stage? He Mingxi stared at Zhou Donghuang, still in disbelief. She had thought that her training speed was already considered fast, but she was still half a step away from the late Dharma stage. She had never imagined that Zhou Donghuang would reach the late Dharma stage before her. As for Dezhuang, he also looked at Zhou Donghuang in shock. Little brother, your training speed is too fast, isn't it? Zhou Donghuang smiled faintly. Half a year ago, his White Tiger Dharma power had already entered the late Dharma stage. Although the training environment and training resources that he enjoyed were not much better than He Mingxi and Dezhuang's. After all, the core drugs that he refined were given to the two of them. However, his talent was there for all to see. His martial talent, even in the boundless universe, was top-notch, and he had inherited it from his biological parents. In the past, on the Xian planet, because of the training environment and training resources, his training speed had been very slow. Now, on the Tailao planet of the Hungliu galaxy, the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect, He Jin, had spared no effort in helping him find all kinds of rare herbs. Coupled with the large number of spirit stones that he had obtained from the memories of his past life, everything had been smooth sailing, and his training speed had naturally increased. In fact, now not only had his White Tiger Dharma power entered the late Dharma stage, but his Green Dragon Dharma power had also entered the late Dharma stage 2 months ago. As for the Vermilion Bird Dharma power and the Black Tortoise Dharma power, they had already entered the mid-Dharma stage half a year ago. Of the 4 Dharma powers in his body, 2 were at the mid-Dharma stage while the other 2 were at the late Dharma stage. You two have to work hard, otherwise I'll leave you further and further behind. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Zhou Donghuang's words naturally gave He Mingxi and Dezhuang a great deal of pressure, causing their expressions to turn serious in an instant. Little brother. He Mingxi seemed to have suddenly thought of something, and the serious expression on her face disappeared, replaced by a mocking expression. Didn't you already hear from me that the girl named Luo Qinghan is in the Jihan sect of the Ziyun planet? Under such circumstances, you can actually stay in the sect to train so calmly and not look for her? End of this chapter. Chapter 260. He Mingshi did not know that Luo Qinghan had come to the Lightning Sword sect, which was why she had asked. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly at He Mingshi's question. We will meet when the time comes, why the rush? Don't tell me you know that the decennial alliance hunt is about to begin? He Mingshi stared at Zhou Donghuang's face as if trying to figure something out. Alliance hunt? Zhou Donghuang was taken aback. What's that? You don't know? He Mingshi asked in surprise. I thought that the reason you did not look for Luo Qinghan was because you knew that the alliance hunt was about to begin and that you might be able to meet her soon. I did not expect that not only did you not know that the alliance hunt was about to begin, but you also did not know about the alliance hunt? The alliance hunt was a hunt that was held once every 10 years by the top sects of the Honglio galaxy. The main characters were the Dharma adepts of the top sections. The alliance hunt was held once every 10 years and was held on a special planet in the Honglio galaxy. The Dharma adepts of the top sects could enter and hunt beasts to earn points. When the alliance hunt ended, the points would be ranked and rewards would be given out according to the rankings, and the rewards were all from the top sects of the alliance. I see. After listening to He Mingshi's brief explanation of the alliance hunt, Zhou Donghuang roughly understood what was going on. It was a trial for the Dharma adepts of the top sects of the Honglio galaxy. All Dharma adepts can enter? There is no age limit? Zhou Donghuang asked curiously. From the way he saw it, since all the top sects of the Honglio galaxy had prepared rewards for this alliance hunt and had even made it such a big event, they would not be willing to waste their rewards on those older Dharma adepts with limited potential. Of course there are restrictions. He Mingshi nodded. The alliance hunt only allows Dharma adepts of the top sects below the age of 50 to enter, and each sect only has 40 slots. 10 early Dharma adepts must be below the age of 30. 10 mid-Dharma adepts must be below the age of 35. 10 late Dharma adepts must be below the age of 40, and 10 ultimate Dharma adepts must be below the age of 50. At this point, He Mingshi looked at Zhou Donghuang meaningfully. So, as long as Luo Qinghan fulfills the conditions, she will very likely be one of the Jihan sect disciples participating in the alliance hunt. What's the reward? Zhou Donghuang's question hit the nail on the head. This was what he was truly concerned about. As for the quota, he wasn't worried about it. Besides the fact that the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, would not disappoint him, based on his own abilities, it would be easy for him to obtain a spot in the Lightning Sword sect. The other rewards are still alright. Among them, the best reward is the Sky Sun fruit. However, in order to obtain the Sky Sun fruit, not only do you have to accumulate enough points to rank first in the alliance hunt, you also have to accumulate enough points to exceed a certain value. Sky Sun fruit? Zhou Donghuang was shocked. He had never imagined that the alliance of the top sects in the Honglio galaxy would be able to produce the Sky Sun fruit. The Sky Sun fruit was a spirit fruit that could allow adepts who had just entered the ultimate Dharma stage to break through to the primordial soul stage in a short period of time. Of course, whether or not one could break through to the primordial soul stage with the help of the spirit fruit depended on the ability of the person who consumed it. Most of the ultimate Dharma adepts, after consuming the Sky Sun fruit, would only allow their inner yuan to reach the bottleneck of the ultimate Dharma stage, and they would only be able to break through to the Dharma stage. The Sky Sun fruit was not something that only ultimate Dharma adepts could consume. Any adept who was above the Dharma stage could consume it. However, for adepts who were above the primordial soul stage to consume the Sky Sun fruit, although their inner yuan would still increase, it would not be of much help to them. Throughout the entire universe, the Sky Sun fruit was one of the top 3 spirit fruits that Dharma adepts could consume. Third senior sister, is there really a Sky Sun fruit? Zhou Donghuang took a deep breath and asked for confirmation. In the past 2 years in the Lightning Sword sect, the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, had been very cooperative in helping him find all kinds of rare herbs and produce all kinds of core drugs for him. However, all of those core drugs added up could not compare to the Sky Sun fruit. If I can get my hands on the Sky Sun fruit and use it as the main ingredient, I can produce an even better Sky Sun elixir, and I can even make a few of them. The Sky Sun elixir was a core drug made from the Sky Sun fruit and other rare herbs. It was similar to the Sky Sun fruit, but its effects were stronger. Little junior brother, the sky sun fruit is not that easy to get. It was not difficult for He Mingxi to see that Zhou Donghuang was interested in the sky sun fruit, but she could not help but pour cold water on him. The sky sun fruit in the alliance has already been in the alliance for hundreds of years. As for the alliance hunt, it is held once every 10 years. This means that in the past hundreds of years, the scores of disciples from the top sects who have won first place in the alliance hunt have not reached the threshold to obtain the sky sun fruit. First place in the alliance hunt is only one of the requirements to obtain the sky sun fruit. The other requirement is to reach the threshold to obtain the sky sun fruit. He Mingxi reminded him. Has anyone reached that threshold before? Zhou Donghuang asked. Of course. He Mingxi nodded. More than 400 years ago, a late Dharma adept from the Great Barren Planet's fiery sect won first place in the alliance hunt. His accumulated points met the requirements to obtain the sky sun fruit, and he obtained it. Great Planet? Fire sect? Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed. No wonder the name sounded so familiar. The ultimate Dharma adept, Mo Gan, who had left behind a divine soul shaper in his belongings after he died of old age, had asked the person who had obtained his belongings to help him kill a person from the Great Planet's fire sect named Gong Sunling. At this moment, He Mingxi continued, that incident was something that the Great Wilderness Star's fiery sect was proud of, but the world is unpredictable. After that talented disciple of the fiery sect obtained the sky sun fruit, he betrayed the fiery sect and joined one of the two transcendental forces of the Honglio galaxy, the Qi dynasty. Later on, his identity was revealed to be the youngest son of the Qi dynasty's King Qi, a young prince of the Qi dynasty. The reason he joined the fire sect was because of the sky sun fruit. There is only one sky sun fruit tree in the Honglio galaxy, and according to the agreement between the two transcendental forces and the alliance, the sky sun fruit tree will bear 4 fruits every 3,000 years, 1 for each of the two transcendental forces and 2 for the alliance. The value of the sky sun fruit is obvious. In the alliance there are only 2 fruits every 3,000 years. That time, the young prince of the Qi dynasty used such a method to obtain a sky sun fruit, and this caused the entire alliance to be furious. More than 10 top sects sent representatives to the Qi dynasty to demand an explanation. However, because there was no agreement that we couldn't do this, the alliance could only swallow this loss. After that incident, the alliance found the Qi dynasty and another transcendental force and made an agreement. The two transcendental forces could no longer send people to infiltrate any of the sects of the alliance to fight for the sky sun fruit with the alliance disciples, or the alliance would kill them at all costs. At this point, He Mingxi paused for a moment before continuing with a bitter smile. If it wasn't for the Qi dynasty's young master obtaining a sky sun fruit 400 years ago, the alliance would still have 2 sky sun fruits. The most recent sky sun fruit, as well as the sky sun fruit obtained by the young prince of the Qi dynasty, were both plucked from the sky sun fruit tree 1,000 years ago. After He Mingxi's explanation, Zhou Donghuang finally understood the meaning of the alliance hunt. It was nothing more than a hunting competition organized by the various sects of the alliance to motivate their disciples. For this, the alliance had even taken out 2 sky sun fruits every 3,000 years. Third senior sister. Zhou Donghuang asked, if someone obtains the sky sun fruit in this alliance hunt, then in the next 2,000 years the alliance will no longer have the sky sun fruit, and the alliance disciple who obtains the first place in the alliance hunt and has accumulated enough points to obtain the sky sun fruit will also not be able to obtain the sky sun fruit. The sky sun fruit in the alliance's hands had been plucked 1,000 years ago. The sky sun fruit tree only bore fruit once every 3,000 years. This meant that it would take another 2,000 years for the next fruit to bear fruit. That's right. He Mingxi nodded. In the history of the alliance, there have been many talented disciples who have met with such treatment. However, it can only be said that they were unlucky and were born in the wrong era. When will the alliance hunt take place? Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed as he asked. In 7 months, He Mingxi said with a smile. He Mingxi smiled and said, in a month's time, the sect will decide on the 40 people who will be entering the alliance hunt half a year in advance. And the 40 people who have been chosen will not be able to leave the Lightning Sword sect for the next 6 months, until they head to the location where the alliance hunt will take place. Third senior sister, the valley head should be able to decide on a few names, right? Zhou Donghuang asked. You don't have to worry about the names. No one can snatch your name from you. In fact, I heard from my father that the sect head is very excited about your performance in the alliance hunt. If you don't participate in the alliance hunt, the sect head might personally come to ask you to participate. Mingxi shook her head and sighed. The alliance hunt, to a certain extent, concerns the reputation of the various top sects of the alliance. As the sect head of the Lightning Sword sect, he definitely hopes that the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect will perform well in the alliance hunt. As for De Zhuang and I, we will have to pass the assessment in order to be selected. As she spoke, the corners of Mingxi's mouth turned up in a smile. Regardless of whether it was for her or De Zhuang, it would not be difficult for them to obtain a name in the alliance hunt. In reality, it was just as Mingxi had thought. A month later, even though she and De Zhuang had held back, they still easily obtained a name as a mid-Dharma disciple. End of this chapter. Chapter 261. When the Lightning Sword sect was in the process of deciding on the 40 participants to participate in the alliance hunt that was to take place half a year later, they had also made a mistake. That is, the Lightning Peak Elder who was in charge of determining the number of participants had set Zhou Donghuang's name as one of the 10 mid-Dharma adepts. It was only after Mingxi reminded him that Zhou Donghuang was now a late Dharma adept that he corrected himself. At this time, the 40 spots had already been decided. Then, one of the weakest late Dharma adepts was kicked off the list because he wanted to give the spot to Zhou Donghuang. This late Dharma adept was initially reluctant, but after the Lightning Peak Elder said, "You can challenge Zhou Donghuang. If you win, the slot will still be yours," he immediately shut his mouth. This time, out of the 10 late Dharma disciples that the Lightning Sword sect had chosen, he was the weakest. Although Zhou Donghuang had only recently attained the late Dharma stage, he was still not someone that he could go up against. Just the Dharma power that Zhou Donghuang had displayed when he had defeated the genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, as well as the Dharma body integration technique, was enough to prove that he had reached the late Dharma stage. Even the other 9 late Dharma adepts would not be a match for Zhou Donghuang, let alone him. Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power was too heaven-defying. Unlike this unlucky late Dharma disciple, as Zhou Donghuang's name was removed from the list of 10 mid-Dharma disciples, a rather powerful mid-Dharma disciple who had originally been eliminated took the spot. After the names of the participants had been confirmed in the Lightning Sword sect, besides the topic of the alliance hunt, there was also a lot of discussion about Zhou Donghuang's advancement to the late Dharma stage. Who would have thought that Zhou Donghuang would actually reach the late Dharma stage? Isn't this speed of practice a little too incredible? He's only 26 this year, right? A 26-year-old late Dharma adept. Has there ever been one in the history of the Tailao planet? I don't think I've heard of any late Dharma adepts appearing in the history of the Tailao planet, at least not in the recorded history. If that's the case, doesn't that mean that Zhou Donghuang is the fastest person to reach the late Dharma stage in the history of the Tailao planet? That's right. I wonder if the genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, has entered the late Dharma stage. If he has, then Zhou Donghuang will not be considered to have made history. He will only be considered to be on par with Han Yujing. Han Yujing? He was defeated by Zhou Donghuang. How can he compare to Zhou Donghuang? The Summer Valley Head's godson and personal disciple, Lian Can, had also received a spot as a mid-Dharma disciple to head to the alliance hunt. It was just that he had never imagined that Zhou Donghuang, who did not even need to participate in the assessment, had already entered the late Dharma stage. What was even more unexpected was that Mingxi, the daughter of the Autumn Valley's Valley Head, Jin, the woman he saw as his exclusive property, the woman he wanted to possess, had actually defeated him. Moreover, that woman had defeated him within 10 moves. Not only had that woman defeated him, but even the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang, who had once been pinned to the ground by him, had also defeated him. Ever since Zhou Donghuang had appeared, the two of them's powers had skyrocketed, shocking everyone. Because of this, Lian Can's expression was very ugly when he returned to the Summer Valley. "You look so ugly. Don't tell me you didn't even get a spot?" The Summer Valley head, Lian Kuan, could not help but frown when he saw Lian Can's expression. In his opinion, with Lian Can's current powers, it would be easy for him to obtain a spot as a mid-Dharma disciple. "I got the spot." Lian Can smiled bitterly. Hearing this, Lian Kuan's frown eased. "Since you got it, why are you frowning?" "Godfather." Lian Can sighed. "That Zhou Donghuang, just as you had guessed, the sect leader personally appointed him to participate in the alliance hunt without having to participate in the assessment. That's normal." Lian Kuan smiled lightly. "With his powers, he has a chance of making it to the top 10 of the alliance hunt scoreboard." Our Lightning Sword sect has not had a disciple who has made it to the top 10 in almost 100 years. This time, the sect leader must be counting on him to bring glory to the sect. Lien Kun was not surprised at all. Even if he was the Lightning Sword sect leader, he would have done the same. He has entered the late Dharma stage. Lien Kun continued to sigh. Who? Lien Kun did not react for a moment. Zhou Donghuang. Lien Kun said. What? Lien Kan's words undoubtedly shocked Lien Kun. Didn't that Zhou Donghuang only enter the mid-Dharma stage a year and a half ago? In just a year and a half, he had already entered the late Dharma stage? What kind of talent was that? Not just in the Lightning Sword sect, but even in the history of the Tailao planet and the Hunglio galaxy, no one had ever heard of anyone entering the late Dharma stage from the mid-Dharma stage in less than 2 years. That was too scary, wasn't it? Is that true? Lien Kun asked subconsciously. He Mingshi said it, so it can't be wrong. Now the sect has given him a spot as a late Dharma disciple. Hearing Lien Kun say this, Lien Kun's expression became serious, and his eyes were filled with shock. That Zhou Donghuang is really a monster. Not only is his Dharma power strong, but his level of practice has also increased so quickly. Lien Kun, the Lightning Sword sect's Summer Valley head, had seen many martial arts geniuses in his life, but now he felt that those geniuses were not even worthy of carrying Zhou Donghuang's shoes. There's one more thing. While Lien Kun was still in shock, Lien Kun said bitterly, in today's assessment, I fought with He Mingshi of the Autumn Valley, and I lost to her in less than 10 moves. Just as Lien Kun was feeling even more shocked, Lien Kun continued, that Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang, also defeated me in less than 20 moves. At that moment, Lien Kun was so shocked that he was completely numb. Was the Autumn Valley trying to defy nature? That Zhou Donghuang seems to be the Autumn Valley's lucky star. After he entered the Autumn Valley, the other disciples of the Autumn Valley also followed suit and defy nature. Lien Kun muttered to himself. Of course, it was not difficult for Lien Kun to guess. Whether it was He Mingshi or De Zhuang, the reason why their skills had increased so quickly in such a short period of time was definitely because of Zhou Donghuang. Not just He Mingshi but De Zhuang. 2 years ago he was only an ultimate primal core adept. Now, not only had he entered the Dharma stage, but he had also entered the mid-Dharma stage. Lu Lang, the only son of the Spring Valley head, Lu Fenggu, had also obtained an early Dharma disciple slot in the Alliance hunt. Although he had only entered the early Dharma stage not too long ago, when he had been at the ultimate primal core stage, his father had taught him how to improve his Dharma power. After entering the early Dharma stage, his skills were stronger than most of the early Dharma disciples of the Lightning Sword sect. Today he had personally witnessed He Mingshi defeat the Summer Valley disciple, Lien Kan. Before that, he had heard that Lien Kan's skills were unmatched among the mid-Dharma disciples of the Summer Valley and that he was extremely powerful. His father had also told him that even if he had entered the mid-Dharma stage now, he would still be no match for Lien Kan. However, He Mingshi, whose skills had previously been on par with Lien Kan's, had defeated Lien Kan this time, and in less than 10 moves. What shocked him the most was still the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang. In the short span of 2 years, De Zhuang had advanced from the ultimate primal core stage to the mid-Dharma stage, and he now had the ability to defeat Lien Kan within 20 moves. Their changes are too great, and all of this must have something to do with Zhou Donghuang. Another thing that shocked Lu Lang was that Zhou Donghuang had actually entered the late Dharma stage. Gosh, how long had it been? He remembered it very clearly. 2 years ago, Zhou Donghuang was only a golden essence adept like De Zhuang, but in a short span of 2 years he had already entered the late Dharma stage. Furthermore, Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power had been trained to perfection. His father had told him that based on Zhou Donghuang's current Dharma power, once he entered the ultimate Dharma stage, he would be unmatched in the Lightning Sword sect. With Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power now that he has entered the late Dharma stage, in the Lightning Sword sect, basically no one below the ultimate Dharma stage can be his match. After guessing that the increase in He Mingshi and De Zhuang's skills had something to do with Zhou Donghuang, Lu Lang felt a burning passion in his heart, but at the same time he felt a little helpless. Zhou Donghuang was someone he had always wanted to befriend. However, Zhou Donghuang was unmoved and completely ignored him. If he had entered the Spring Valley instead of the Autumn Valley, and if he was on good terms with me, perhaps I would have entered the mid-Dharma stage by now. Lu Lang knew that his talent and ability to understand things were not inferior to that of the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang. In reality, The reason why De Zhuang's level of practice had increased so dramatically was because his body was very compatible with the fiery thunder training regimen. Because of the compatibility between their bodies, there would be an explosive increase in the level of practice in the early stages, and then it would slowly return to its original state. Because of this, De Zhuang had been able to break through from the early Dharma stage to the mid-Dharma stage in just over a year. The Ziji planet. The Jihan sect. Like the Lightning Sword sect, the Jihan sect had also decided on the 40 participants for the Alliance Hunt half a year ago. That was close. Luo Qinghan heaved a long sigh of relief after the assessment for today's Alliance Hunt had ended. She had almost not been able to get a place. Her ability was the weakest among the 10 early Dharma adepts that the Jihan sect had chosen. Of course, this was also because Luo Qinghan had not switched to the technique of everlasting youth, which Zhou Donghuang had left for Luo Wuchen. Otherwise, Luo Qinghan's ability would have been much higher. If I had not entered the early Dharma stage more than a year ago and had Granny's careful guidance, this time, I definitely would not have been able to get a place in the Alliance Hunt. Luo Qinghan was somewhat relieved. In the past year, after she had entered the Dharma stage, Luo Qinghan had returned home again and stayed for a long time before returning. She had stayed at home to receive careful guidance from her granny Liu, who had taught her how to better and more efficiently train her Dharma power. Now that Liu had trained in the technique of everlasting youth, her level of practice was so high that most ultimate Dharma adepts could not compare to her. End of this chapter. Chapter 262. Although Liu and Luo Wuchen had never thought of imparting the technique of everlasting youth to others, they had never thought of doing so. Whether it was because they were worried that the technique of everlasting youth would harm themselves and the Luo family, or because they felt guilty to Zhou Donghuang, they did not intend to pass it on to anyone else. There was only one person that they wanted to pass on the technique of everlasting youth to. That person was Luo Qinghan. Liu and Luo Wuchen knew very well that Zhou Donghuang had given the technique of everlasting youth as a betrothal gift because he had intended to pass it on to Luo Qinghan. Now they were practicing it, but Luo Qinghan was unwilling to do so. They were very upset. That was why they wanted Luo Qinghan to practice the technique of everlasting youth. However, Luo Qinghan was stubborn and only said one thing. "Father, Granny, I promised him that I would not practice the technique he gave you. No matter what you say, it is useless. I will not practice it." She had her own stubbornness. She already owed that man too much. Now there was no way she could return it. If she continued to owe him, wouldn't she be taking advantage of him? She, Luo Qinghan, could not do such a thing. Precisely because of this, Luo Qinghan's current achievements were mostly due to her martial talent, the ancient core drug, the advanced energy-gathering formation, and the careful guidance of her granny Liu. If she had practiced the technique of everlasting youth, her achievements would have been even higher. There's still half a year. Luo Qinghan's eyes shone brightly. From now until the end of the Alliance Hunt, before the scoreboard is released, anyone who is selected by the sect to participate in the Alliance Hunt must suppress their level of practice, even if they are about to break through. No matter who it is, if they break through before the scoreboard is released, they will either be disqualified from participating in the Alliance Hunt, or their results will be nullified. Although, no matter how hard I train during this period of time, I will not be able to break through to the mid-Dharma stage in such a short period of time. Since there is such a rule, I might as well spend this period of time training my Dharma power. Making my Dharma power stronger is the only way for me to improve my abilities, given that I am unable to improve my level of practice. This time Luo Qinghan did not return to the Luo family. Instead, she looked for her grandmother to give her pointers on the way to train her Dharma power. The last time she had left, her grandmother had let slip that her grandmother's current understanding of the way of training Dharma power came mostly from the technique of everlasting youth that Zhou Donghuang had given her. This made her very uncomfortable and even a little repulsed. However, although Luo Qinghan did not return to the Luo family this time, the Jihan sect placed great importance on the group of disciples who were participating in the Alliance Hunt. As such, they had requested that some of the elders who had trained their Dharma power to an extremely high level when they were still at the Dharma stage to focus on teaching the disciples for the next 6 months. Including Luo Qinghan, he would help the 40 Dharma adepts who were about to participate in the Alliance Hunt to further temper and improve their Dharma power. During this process, it was not difficult for Luo Qinghan to discover. When she was at the Dharma stage, the group of elders of the Jihan sect who had trained their Dharma power to a high level had taught her lessons without holding anything back. However, The help that they had given her was not as great as the help that her grandmother had given her. If she did not already know that her grandmother's understanding of the way of training Dharma power came mostly from the technique that Zhou Donghuang had given her, she would definitely return to the Luo family to get her grandmother to teach her in order to further improve her abilities. She would only return to the Jihan sect when the alliance hunt was nearing. However, now that she had found out, she naturally could not return to the Luo family. She really did not want to owe that man anymore. The Tailao planet. The Thunder Knife sect. More than a year ago, before heading to the Lightning Sword sect, Han Yujing, a disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, was known as a rare martial arts genius of the Tailao planet. He was the top person of the younger generation of the Tailao planet. However, his trip to the Lightning Sword sect to show off his prowess had been a sure thing. He did not expect that he would fail miserably. Han Yujing had been defeated by a young man of the same age and level of training in the Lightning Sword sect. It was also at that time that the people of the Thunder Knife sect knew that there was an inner disciple of the Lightning Sword sect named Zhou Donghuang who was stronger and more talented than Han Yujing. This was something that Han Yujing had always been ashamed of, and he had always been looking for an opportunity to avenge himself. Yujing, do you remember that disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, Zhou Donghuang, who you defeated the last time? The leader of the Thunder Knife sect, Luo Yuanxiu, called over the most outstanding disciple of the sect, Han Yujing, and asked him, "Master, I can't possibly forget him." Han Yujing's eyes flashed with the desire to fight. When the alliance hunt begins, I will defeat him and avenge myself. Ever since he had been defeated and returned to the Thunder Knife sect, he had worked even harder. Now he had even entered the late Dharma stage and his Dharma power had been further refined. He had already reached the threshold of Dharma body possession. If he had more time, he was confident that he would be able to master Dharma body possession before he entered the ultimate Dharma stage. Do you think that Zhou Donghuang will participate in the alliance hunt as a mid-Dharma adept of the Lightning Sword sect? How could Luo Yuanxiu not know what Han Yujing was thinking? He thought that Zhou Donghuang was still a mid-Dharma adept, and that he could defeat him with his late Dharma power. Master, what do you mean by that? Han Yujing had a bad feeling about this, but he still felt that it was unlikely. This was because, according to what he knew, Zhou Donghuang had only just entered the mid-Dharma stage when they fought. In less than 2 years, could he have broken through and entered the late Dharma stage like him? I've just received news. Zhou Donghuang has received a late Dharma adept slot from the Lightning Sword sect to participate in the alliance hunt. Luo Yuanxiu sighed. Although I can't believe it now that things have come to this, I have no choice but to believe that Zhou Donghuang has also entered the late Dharma stage just like you. You were so confident just now because you felt that your power was higher than his, and even if your Dharma power was slightly weaker than his, you still had the confidence to defeat him. But now he has also entered the late Dharma stage and his power is similar to yours. Coupled with his Dharma power that is superior to yours, there is no doubt that the two of you will win this battle. Even though Han Yujing had been mentally prepared, he could not help but feel his heart sink when he heard Luo Yuanxiu's words. He had never imagined that Zhou Donghuang would have entered the late Dharma stage as well. Didn't he just enter the mid-Dharma stage? It has only been less than 2 years, and he has already entered the late Dharma stage? Han Yujing's tone was filled with disbelief. One had to know that even he had spent close to 3 years to enter the late Dharma stage from the early Dharma stage to the early Dharma stage. This was also because his family and the Thunder Knife sect had spent countless high-quality resources on him, and they had not held back in training him. Han Yujing's family was also a powerful force on the Tailao planet, second only to the top 3 sects, including the Lightning Sword sect and the Thunder Knife sect. They belonged to the second tier of forces on the Tailao planet. Yujing, I know that you may not be able to accept this, but this is the truth. Even if you don't want to accept it, you have to accept it. Luo Yuanxiu said in a low voice, you have to know that there is always someone better than you out there. Zhou Donghuang's appearance is just the right time for you to swallow your pride. Even on the Tailao planet, there are still people who are suppressing you in all aspects, much less in the Hengliu galaxy. Your achievements are insignificant in front of him. Luo Yuanxiu's words were indeed harsh. He had done this naturally to motivate this disciple of his. Master, I may have lost to him now, but that does not mean that I will lose to him in the future. Han Yujing's gaze was resolute, and his tone was resolute. He then bade farewell and returned to his training, as if he did not want to waste any more time. Seeing this, Luo Yuanxiu's chubby face also squeezed out a satisfied smile. After a while, his smile relaxed and he sighed. I had thought that with Yujing's appearance, the Thunder Knife sect would be able to suppress the Lightning Sword sect in terms of the younger generation. Who would have thought that the Lightning Sword sect would have a Zhou Donghuang? From Luo Yuanqiu's point of view, Zhou Donghuang's appearance was like Han Yujing's nemesis, suppressing him in all aspects. However, based on the current situation, although Han Yujing was being suppressed, this pressure had also turned into motivation, which was a good thing for Han Yujing. There's still half a year. Thinking that there was still half a year until the start of the alliance hunt, Luo Yuanqiu's small eyes narrowed and he murmured, with Zhou Donghuang's ability, it will not be difficult for him to fight his way into the top 10. As for that child Yujing, if he is unable to master the dermic possession in the next half a year, I'm afraid it will be impossible for him to fight his way into the top 10. The Hungliu Galaxy's alliance of sects included dozens of top sects, and among them, there was no lack of outstanding talents. For this alliance hunt, dozens of top sects would send their most outstanding Dharma adepts to participate, and the competition would be unprecedentedly fierce. As time passed, the alliance hunt drew closer. At this time, most of the Dharma adepts of the top sects who had obtained a place in the alliance hunt were excited, expectant and anxious. Of course, there were still a few who were calm as if nothing had happened. Zhou Donghuang was one of them. I finally completely refined the Divine Soul Shaper. Now, my Divine Will has been formed. Once I enter the Primordial Soul stage, I can form my Divine Will. Throughout the boundless universe, I'm afraid there are not many people who can do this. In the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect, in a room in a courtyard, a young man dressed in white sat cross-legged on a bed. The next moment, a ripple appeared in the air above his head, and his Divine Will swept out, covering the surrounding area. At this moment, Zhou Donghuang was in the room, and he knew everything that was happening outside like the back of his hand. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.